वेदांत, एकराइज, ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India, Paradeep Phosphates Limited, Bakul Foundation, Youth for Sustainability, Socrates, Nalanda Institute of Technology Foundation. अनेक समय रे आमे विभिन्न प्रसंग को नहीं आलोचना करू, किंतु ए तीन दिनिया सम्मिलनी रे जेतेबेले परिवेश एवं ता संपर्कित अनेक कथा को नहीं आलोचना हेउची, सेतेबेले ये आशा समस्तन मनरे जे आगामी भविष्यत पई जेतेबेले आमे रोड मैप प्रस्तुत करूछु, सेतेबेले आमर एही अतिथि मानक आलोचनारू बाहरुथुबा अनेक परामर्श सेथिरे कार्यकारी हेबो। आजी एकाठी आमे हेउछु आउ काली पई चिंता करूछु। परिवेश जहा पई आमे निरंतर कार्यरत संवाद ग्रुप रो ये प्रचेष्टा जेउथि पई गत वर्ष मध्य 3 दिनिया सम्मेलनी 147 निर्वाचन मंडली रे क्लाइमेट पंचायत करे नेता जनता शिक्षाविद परिवेशविद छात्र छात्री बुद्धिजीवी को एकाठी करे आगामी भविष्यत पई चिंतन करागला। चलित वर्ष मध्य जेतेबेले पुनश्च पृथिवीर ये 3 दिनिया सम्मेलनी रो चिंता मन को आसिला, तार बहु पूर्वरु संवाद रे खबर कागज रे पृष्ठा सहित पुनश्च पृथिवी बा परिवेश संपर्कित खबर सहित कनक न्यूज रेडियो चॉकलेट रे मध्य स्वतंत्र कार्यक्रम करागला। 147 निर्वाचन मंडली को पुणी छुईला कनक न्यूज संवाद ग्रुप एवं रेडियो चॉकलेट क्लाइमेट पंचायत माध्यम रे गत वर्ष जो चिंतन करा जायथिला तार केते रूपायन ग्राउंड स्तर रे बा रूट स्तर रे करा जायछि, केते कार्यकारी होईछि से योजना ताकु नै मानस मंथन करागला। आउ पुणी आमे मंच रे समस्त एकाठी होईछु 3 दिनिया सम्मेलनी रे जोंतरे 50 रु अधिक अतिथि आम सहित जोड़ी हेउछन्ति देश विदेश रो अनेक राज्य रो जो माने आलोचना करूछन्ति जे काली पई आजी आमे एकाठी होई केमिति आगो को बढ़ेबा। पुणी थरे आपण समस्तंकु स्वागत करूछि आमर तृतीय दिनर पुनश्च पृथिवीर ये कार्यक्रम को। संवाद ग्रुप गत वर्ष ठारू अनेक प्रकार कार्यक्रम हाथ को नहीं ताकु ने एक वृत्त चित्र देखिबा। गत वर्ष आयोजित होइतिबा 3 दिनिया सम्मेलनी रे 40 रु अधिक अतिथि आम सहित जोड़ी होइतिले, ताकु नै गोटे वीडियो क्लिप समस्ते देखिबा। तेज गत 2 दिन धरी आम सहित अनेक अतिथि जोड़ी होते फॉरेस्ट मैन ऑफ इंडिया जादव पाइंग होंतु किंबा वाटर मैन ऑफ इंडिया डॉक्टर राजेंद्र सिंह होंतु मेनका गांधी होंतु एभली तमाम अतिथि आम सहित थिले जार किछि झलक आपण माने देखिले आफ्टर मूवी अर्थ अगेन रो जहा गत वर्षर 3 दिनिया सम्मेलन को नहीं प्रस्तुत से वीडियो भी देखिबा। थैंक यू सो मच। द्रुत गति रे शहरीकरण जोगु सहर गुड़िक जलवायु परिवर्तन कारण एवं शिकार उभय होउछन्ते। एहा मध्य एक सूक्ष्म संतुलन रक्षा करबा आजिर दिन में आम समस्तक बड़ आह्वान। अर्थनैतिक विकास एवं शहरी अभिवृद्धि को प्रोत्साहन देवा सहित परिवेश को सुरक्षित रखिबा एवं जलवायु स्थिरता निश्चित करबा जरूरी होई पड़िछे। जलवायु प्राथमिकता को विस्तारित भित्तिभूमि जनसंख्यार घनता एवं उत्स व्यवहार चाप सहित संतुलित करबा आम समयर एक निर्णायक आह्वान होइछे। तबे आखु नै आलोचना द चैलेंज ऑफ बैलेंस क्लाइमेट डेवलपमेंट एंड अर्बनाइजेशन ए संक्रांत रे मत रखिबा पई आज आम सहित विशिष्ट अतिथि उपस्थित अछंती। श्रीयुक्त चंद्रभूषण प्रेसिडेंट एंड सीईओ आई फॉरेस्ट। श्री चंद्रभूषण भारतर जड़े अग्रणी एवं जननीति विशेषज्ञ इंटरनेशनल फोरम फॉर एनवायरमेंट सस्टेनेबिलिटी एंड टेक्नोलॉजी प्रतिष्ठाता सीईओ आमे तांको स्वागत करुछु। गत 2 दशंधि अधिक समय धरी से अनुसंधान और लेखा माध्यम रे विभिन्न परिवेश संबंधी प्रसंग उपरे काम करुछंती और बहु जननीति अभियान रे से आगरे रहिछंती। जड़े इंजीनियर एवं परिवेश योजनाकारी भावे प्रशिक्षित श्रीयुक्त चंद्रभूषण बहु डायमेंशनल परिवेश और विकासमूलक चैलेंज गुड़िक समाधान करबा पई सामाजिक और अर्थनैतिक वास्तवता को बुझिबा सहित वैज्ञानिक और वैषयिक विशेषज्ञता को भी गुरुत्व दियंते, अर्थात साइंटिफिक एंड टेक्निकल एक्सपर्टाइज को अधिक प्रायोरिटी दियंते। मो अनुरोध करिबी मो सहयोगी को श्रीयुक्त चंद्रभूषण को नहीं आमे प्रस्तुत करिथिबा छोट वीडियो क्लिप देखिबा।
प्रकृति और परिवेश जहार जीवन परिवेश सुरक्षा पाई जे प्रति सेही भली जणे व्यक्तित्व हेउचंती चंद्रभूषण। जलवायु परिवर्तन ठारू आरंभ करी वर्ज्यवस्तु परिचालना खाद्य निरापत्ता पर्यंत सबुथिरे तांकर रहिछि बेस कार्य दक्षता। प्राकृतिक संबल परिचालना और शिल्प प्रदूषण रोकिबा दिगरे से नैचंती अनेक पदक्षेप। चंद्रभूषण वर्तमान परिवेश गवेषणा और नवसृजन संस्था इंटरनेशनल फोरम फॉर एनवायरनमेंट सस्टेनेबिलिटी एंड टेक्नोलॉजी बा आई फॉरेस्टर सभापति तथा मुख्य कार्यनिर्वाही अधिकारी भाव में कार्यरत अछंती। खनिज संपद भरा अंचल में डीएमएफ पांठी प्रतिष्ठा करिबारे से मुख्य भूमिका ग्रहण करथिले। तांको उद्यम रे शिल्प क्षेत्र में आसीछि पारद मुक्त प्रजुक्ति विद्या। जड़े प्रकृति प्रेमी लेखक भावे मध्य चंद्रभूषण जनाशुना। प्राकृतिक संपद को कम व्यवहार करी किभली शिल्प को समृद्ध करियब से नहीं निरंतर प्रयास जारी रखिछंती। चंद्रभूषण 25 सरकारी कमिटी सेवा जोगाइबा सह विश्व स्तर रे ग्लोबल रिपोर्ट इनिशिएटिव जीआरआई रो प्रथम स्थायी रिपोर्टिंग ढांचा प्रस्तुत करिसंती। किगाली अमेंडमेंट्स उपरे सहमति प्रकाश करिबारे विशेष भूमिका पाई चंद्रभूषण को ओजोन पुरस्कार रे सम्मानित करिछि मिलित जाति संघ।
आम सहित सेसन रे अतिथि भाव में उपस्थित रहिबे एवं मत रखिबे श्रीयुक्त उत्पल शर्मा। प्रोफेसर उत्पल शर्मा निर्मा विश्वविद्यालय स्थापत्य एवं योजना प्रतिष्ठान प्रोफेसर अछंती। 2014 मसीहा ए प्रतिष्ठान आरंभ ही यार मुख्य भाव में से कार्यरत। स्थापत्य एवं योजना क्षेत्र में जड़े वृत्तिगत शिक्षाविद भाव में 30 वर्षरू अधिक समय अभिज्ञता रही। से भारत एवं अन्यान्य एशिया देश मानकरे विभिन्न प्रतिष्ठित सहरांचल प्रकल्प उपरे कार्य करुछंती, जेउथिरे मास्टर जोन आंचलिक बा रीजनल जोन एवं जोनाल योजना प्रस्तुति उपरे से गुरुत्व दे थांते। तांको ने प्रस्तुत वीडियो क्लिप देखिबा।
प्रोफेसर उत्पल शर्मा शिक्षा क्षेत्र में दीर्घ 30 वर्षर अभिज्ञता। निर्मा विश्वविद्यालय योजना और स्थापत्य विभाग निर्देशक भाव 2014 रु कार्यरत। आईआईटी रुड़की समेत कानाडा भली देश विदेशर अनेक जनाशुना विश्वविद्यालय अध्ययन करिसेंती। फ्रांस सोरबोर्न विश्वविद्यालय डॉक्टरेट हासिल करिसेंती। सिबेट रे डीन भावे दायित्व तुलाइबा सहित देशर प्रसिद्ध स्थपतिकार बीवी दोषींक सह काम करिसेंती। भारत समेत एशिया महादेशर विभिन्न देश में नुआ सहर नक्शा आंकिछंती। नुआ सहर रूपकार भाव में प्रधानमंत्री पुरस्कृत होइछंती। 2009 रु 2011 पर्यंत एशियन प्लानिंग स्कूल एसोसिएशन सभापति भाव में दायित्व तुलाइछंती। नुआ सहर नक्शा आंकिबा भितर परिवेश सुरक्षा प्रति बेस यत्नवान थांती प्रोफेसर उत्पल शर्मा। शहरीकरण को जेतिकी गुरुत्व दियंती परिवेश सुरक्षा को मध्य सेतिकी प्राथमिकता देइथांती।
ମୁଁ ଅନୁରୋଧ କରିବି ଶ୍ରୀଯୁକ୍ତ ଚନ୍ଦ୍ରଭୂଷଣ ଏବଂ ପ୍ରୋଫେସର ଉତ୍ପଳ ଶର୍ମାଙ୍କୁ ମଞ୍ଚ ଉପରକୁ ଆସିବେ ଏବଂ ଅନୁରୋଧ କରିବି ସମ୍ବାଦ ଏବଂ କନକ ନ୍ୟୁଜ୍ର ସମ୍ପାଦକ ଶ୍ରୀମତୀ ତନୟା ପଟ୍ଟନାୟକଙ୍କୁ ସେ ମଧ୍ୟ ମଞ୍ଚ ଉପରକୁ ଆସିବେ ଏବଂ ଆମର ଅତିଥିମାନଙ୍କୁ ସମ୍ବର୍ଦ୍ଧିତ କରିବେ।
जुड़े हुए हैं सरजमीं पर क्यों न जाने जुड़े हैं हम वाकिफ खड़े उड़ेंगे आज हाँ है ये हमको यकीन। Rise up, it's time to take a stand. This is our moment, the future's in our hands. One voice, together we can change us again. Rise up,
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to request Shri Chandrabhushan ji for his keynote address.
Good morning, everyone. Let me thank Tanya Patnaik ji, Bhavani ji, my panelists on the dais, Utpal Sharma ji, and friends, colleagues, dignitaries in the audience. Namaskar. I am really honored to be here simply because after a long association with Sambad, I have finally been invited to come and speak. Bhavani ji has been a old friend, and whenever I need something on environmental issues in Odisha, I always called him, and I continue to call him and rely on information from the journalists of Sambad to make my own opinion. I have done that for years, and I'll continue to do that. I knew about, and in some detail, the initiative that Sambad has taken on climate issues. I knew about Climate Panchayat. In fact, it has always fascinated me that how a media organization can do things that some of us should be doing. Okay. As a research organization in environmental field, it would be a dream work for us to actually develop a report on each panchayat on what are the challenges on climate change. Okay. But that is what Sambad has done. My hope is that other media organizations should also pick up. Because the issue of climate change is the issue which is going to remain with us for generations to come. We are just seeing the beginning of climate change. कहते हैं कि ट्रेलर शुरू हुआ है, फिल्म बाकी है. In fact, if you read the news of past 3 months, 4 months, every day there has been some or other extreme weather event in India. Yesterday, landslide has killed about 30 people near Shimla. A day before, there was a landslide in Darjeeling. In fact, continuous rain in Darjeeling. Before that, there was floods in Nepal. In fact, last 6 months, extreme weather event has been normalized. You just look at the data and it is shocking how we have normalized it. In fact, people do not even now read what is happening. It's like it's almost like a normal part of our life. But friends, this normal will very soon become abnormal when we will not be able to bear the cost of climate change. So the point I am making is what Sambad is doing. My hope is that other media organizations can also take that work forward, because it is the most important issue for all of us. Apart from poverty, development, those are important issues. But climate is equally important, if not less. But also, climate change is going to upend our development. Any development requires a stable climate. If you look at the history of humanity, the 10,000 years in which human race has progressed, it has happened during the most favorable climate conditions. So if you look at the record of temperature, of rainfall, the last 10,000 years has been the most favorable climate in which humanity has grown. We are 2 lakhs year old species, Homo sapiens. You can trace our history for 2 lakhs years. Okay. But it is only in last 10 years when we have pole vaulted, not leapfrogged as a species. And that has happened, as I am again saying, in the most favorable environmental condition. In fact, you can see rise and fall of civilization with favorable climate condition. When Roman flourished, Mauryas flourished, and Qin dynasty flourished, all together. Okay. Because it was the most favorable climatic condition. When Guptas fell, so did the civilization in Europe. So even the fall of civilization on this planet can be correlated with disturbance in climatic condition. Now, all those changes happened because of natural reasons. For the first time, it will happen because of us, or it is happening because of us, because of our activity. But I also believe we have that that capability, the Brown factor, the ability to reverse this. If we all work together, we can reverse this. Now, the topic today is about urbanization. And when Bhavani ji called me and said that we need to discuss the issue of urbanization, I thought it was most important because it was happening in Bhubaneswar. 2 weeks back, we published a report on integrated heat and cooling action plan for Bhubaneswar. Now, what is integrated heat and cooling action plan? In India, we are making heat action plan for every city to save people from heat stroke or heat stress. So Bhubaneswar has a heat action plan. But we are not realizing that cooling technology, the air conditioning that we are using, is actually exacerbating heat itself. So an air conditioner in this room is going to cool us inside, but will throw hot air outside, which is increasing the temperature outside. So it's a vicious cycle. Heat increases, you need more cooling. The more cooling you have, the more heat you exhaust. The more heat it happens, the more cooling you require. It's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. And therefore, if we want to really solve the problem of heat, and Bhubaneswar has a major problem of heat, from February till October, the combination of heat and humidity in the city means that the heat stress is anywhere between yellow to amber to red category. In fact, last year, Bhubaneswar had 17 consecutive days of temperature above 40 degrees Celsius. In fact, one of the worst temperature the city has faced. So Bhubaneswar has a problem of heat, but Odisha in general has a problem of extreme weather events. Whether it is heat or extreme rainfall or cyclone, Odisha is at the center of climate impacts. So when he said that I need to speak about urbanization, I thought it was most apt, because our data on urbanization in Odisha is also quite poor, by the way. We only have data of 2011 census, which says that urban population in Odisha is about 18%. I'm hoping with the new census data that will come, I'm quite sure that we are now talking about 25-30% urban population. Okay, that will be there for Odisha, because I believe that last 10-15 years urbanization has been quite rapid in this state. So we are waiting for the new census data to understand how much urbanization has happened in the states. Now, what are the urban challenges? I think the first challenge I have already spoken about, the challenge of rapid urbanization. Urbanization is a historical inevitability. People, every civilization if you take, they flourish around their cities. And therefore, urbanization will happen. Urbanization will happen, more people will live in cities, more businesses will be attracted to cities, cities will take more land, more water, more resources, because that is where economic activity will take place. Okay. So first, urbanization will happen rapidly in India. In fact, I believe by 2050, we will add one more United States in Indian cities. Maybe we will increase our urban population by about 350 million maybe in next 10 to 15 years. By 2040, India's urban population could be about 600 million. Let's see. Again, all this is based on 2011 census. We do not know what is the correct urban figure right now. But certainly we will add at least one more United States in next 15-20 years. Which means that India will double its urban stock. We will need more buildings, we will need more roads and flyovers and parking space, everything. Now, considering this inevitability, we have to think about urbanization. How do we design our cities? Before coming to this meeting, I was talking to Utpal, and I was telling him that we make master plan in India, but there is no modeling ever done on master plan. Even with cutting edge computer technology that we have, No one does a modeling on master plan to understand that if I am building this city, what will happen to its air quality? What will happen to runoff? What will happen to flooding? What will happen to heat? No one, so we plan a city without understanding the outcome of that planning. And it is universally true in India. I was in Singapore and we partner with something called as ETS Singapore. It's a research institution in Singapore which is working in Singapore, and we have partnered with them to do the integrated heat and cooling action plan for Bhubaneswar. Singapore has a program called a city in nature. So Singapore is designing itself as a city which is within nature. It is the most modern city one can think about. 50% of city land is utilized to harvest rainwater, which is the most traditional technology. Okay. About 40% of surface area of Singapore is green. About 60% of population of Singapore uses public transport minimum on regular basis. Okay. Now think about the most modern city in the world, and Singapore will be the most modern city. It has adopted the most modern technology as well as the most traditional practice. Okay. Rainwater harvesting. And Singapore has to do rainwater harvesting because it doesn't have source of fresh water. Okay. So it is possible to do cities, design city, have the most modern living condition and still be in harmony with nature. I'm not talking theory here. Okay. I'm talking something which we all can go and see and experience. Okay. In fact, Singapore now, if the greening in Singapore was not there, Singapore temperature would have been about 3 degrees higher than what it is today. So with greening itself, the city has reduced its surface temperature by about 3 degrees. Think what we do in Bhubaneswar then. Bhubaneswar has a practice of putting black coal tar on roof to save houses from seepage. This is the most common practice in Bhubaneswar. The moment you put a black topping on your roof, you are making your house a hot house. In fact, our modeling study shows that Bhubaneswar increases its temperature by about half a degree more temperature because of the practice of black roof topping that the city does. So, with some common sense, better planning, better modeling, better practices, we can redesign our cities to live in harmony with nature. That is the point I am trying to make. We need not have city which gets flooded every rainfall. In fact, yesterday, I almost missed my flight because I was in Gurugram and it rained, and Gurugram becomes a pond even if it rains 10 millimeter. Okay. So in fact, I almost missed my flight yesterday because of a moderate rainfall that happened in that city. It need not be the case. So we need to start thinking about the way we are designing our cities, the way we want to live. Think about the government housing programs. In fact, I always give this example. Government is always in a hurry. Okay. It's fine because there's a political cycle. And you want to build as many houses as possible and give it to the poor. But those houses are useless houses. They are made with concrete and with such poor ventilation that they are almost like hot house. You can't stay in that house if you don't have air conditioning, and poor cannot afford air conditioning. So most of the economically weaker section house, whether it is under Pradhan Mantri Yojana or Mukhyamantri Yojana, whatever Yojana you see, are the most environmentally unfriendly and human unfriendly house you can think about. Do we need to do that? The answer is no. In fact, with the same cost, we can make much more comfortable houses. But again, that will not fall in the election cycle. So I think there are a lot of things that we can do to make our houses better, to make our cities better, most importantly, to make our lives better. Okay? And it is doable, and we can do it. Let me end by saying that we have been working in Odisha for the past 5 years, and I am very optimistic about the state. Okay, I have, we work in many states. Odisha is one of them. And my sense of optimism has grown over the years for Odisha. And I'm saying this because of the response I receive from general people, Aam Janta, when I meet them. Okay. And yeah, you can clap. It's about, yeah. I'm very optimistic because people understand development and environment in this state better than anywhere else. In fact, I have not met anyone who does not understand heat wave, climatic impact, cyclone, the relationship with nature. This is something that is a normal conversation. People may not know it is climate change, but it is something that Odisha is experiencing, and people are aware about it. And they want answers. They want solutions. So I am very optimistic about the state. I think the state also has ability to innovate. And I have seen that, the way some of the innovation is happening in the state. I will encourage all of you to go and see World Skill Center. Okay. One of the finest center in skilling is right in the middle of Bhubaneswar, World Skilling Center. There's nothing like that in India, by the way. Okay. It is one of the best that you have. So there is ability in the state and its people to innovate. There is optimism. Odisha was also the first state to actually develop a state action plan on climate change, by the way. It was also the first state to convert its environment department into environment and climate change department. Okay. So there is a legacy of work of about 1.5 decades that Odisha has. So I am very optimistic with collective will of the people, with partnership with great institutions. The state has a bright future. I wish you all the best. I wish Sambad all the best. Thank you very much. Jai Jagannath, Jai Odisha, Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request Professor Sharma for his address.
No, it's okay. As long as I can see that it's all right. Good, good. All right, yeah. Good morning, everybody. And I'm very privileged to be invited for such a conference which talks about environment and climate change. And what Chandra Bhushan has been saying, it is very true. And we have been doing intuitively, planning for various towns and cities. And it is possible to even do things correctly, like what he talked about Singapore. They have done this over the last 10 years. I was earlier part of some project, ETH, Zurich and NUS University together, setting up a center for urban studies, and through which they have come up with the modification and the building bylaws and a whole lot of doing city planning, etc., with which now they have transformed the city for better. So it is possible to do retrofit any city at any situation. So that's a kind of a positive way to look at it. So what I am going to present is that some of the projects that I have worked over the years, I am using them as a case study. I am not saying they are the best case studies, but this is what is being done in India today. And these are, by that way, these are remarkable work comparison with the other projects. and then we figure it out from where, how to move ahead. So I have used some case studies of various cities across India, and from large scale to small projects, and maybe we can learn something out of it. The first slide that we are showing is about the way we do urban planning in India. And our cities, unlike the cities of Europe and the rest of the world, we are very much concentrated at the core of the city. And we are not able to provide infrastructure for a peripheral area, and to make the core of the city more and more dense, and so that it almost becomes like a slum and not fit for living. And that is the issue that we have to expand our boundary. We have to provide good infrastructure on the periphery. Due to lack of that, all cities, Calcutta, Bangalore, Hyderabad, where the other cities of the world had expanded and they reduced the pressure on the core city. Because the certain amount of density and the build form the land can hold, beyond that, it becomes a problem. And that's the kind of thing that we are following, because in earlier time our budget was less. Government of India has, urban planning is not part of the mandate of the Government of India. Now they're coming out with it, urban renewal mission, etc. But it is the state subject, or to be done by the municipality. Center has no role to play, and they don't allocate any funding for that. So because of which, with municipal taxes, you cannot really provide infrastructure for a larger area. And the cities which contribute almost 75% of the GDP, but when we are not pumping in enough resources to build the infrastructure for the city at a central level. And that is like, it is like an earning member of a family. Cities are the earning member of the family, and generally fellow who earn for the family, उसको एक रोटी ज़्यादा मिलता है, so that he doesn't fall ill. But we are actually starving the city of resources, and we're creating a very kind of a messy situation, and that needs to be corrected. That needs to be corrected. It may need some kind of even amendment in the constitution. So what we see here is that most of the cities in the world, because our planning model that we follow in India, we borrowed it from the British. New Delhi is the model that they talk about. Low density, everybody live in 1 acre plot, streets and gardens, etc. Where the rest of the India is very dense and they don't have infrastructure. And our whole planning model, when I teach urban planning, we talk about low density, beautiful garden cities and things like that. But in reality, people live in a very compact situation without good quality infrastructure. That means the model of low density, high quality infrastructure is very difficult to achieve. We don't have that kind of resources. And India is one of the densest country of the world. India and China put together half of the world. That's what it is. So our model should be a compact city. More dense, but with proper open spaces, facilities and infrastructure. Water supply, sewerage, road, etc. So we have to do more compact, low-rise, high-density kind of format, but good quality infrastructure. And the kind of model that we are following is totally reverse. Because that we have inherited, and that's what continues. And that's why the whole, what you do planning and what really happens, it has no match. And that's how a city like Mumbai, more than 50% of the people live in slums. And we created this because we wanted to make Mumbai into Paris, want to become independent. Okay, we do boulevard and we do Flora Fountain and put all the poor guys out of the city, which is the border of the city. Now this is Dharavi, which is in the middle of the city and one of the biggest slum of the world. We created it because we want to make our city beautiful and become like Paris. Okay, these are kind of paradoxes that we are working. Now this is from Ahmedabad. This is true for many cities. Many a time our municipal boundaries are not correct and the thing develop just outside the border. And by the time we realize that oh, we made a mistake, we bring it inside the city, 20 years went by, the whole area has got developed without any infrastructure. Now in Ahmedabad we've added this to the city, but we do not know what to do with it. We have beautiful building, but one 9-meter road serving this area, and we're going to live with the problem permanently. And this is true for many cities. Ahmedabad is the case, but it is happening all over the place. This is from what Chandra Bhushan talking about Shimla. So I had a chance to work for the city of Shimla. We did some kind of a mapping, and we found that many of the buildings are just hanging on the slope, little bit of shake and it will fall off. And they have all got permission from the government. It is not illegal building. Somebody has given a permission to build. Okay. And they have the papers. But this is actually where you should not have been doing anything. That whole lot of things, this is from the northeast, Guwahati, and my hometown, same problem, hill slope cutting, flooding, etc. What is in Bhubaneswar, Guwahati may be worse. Okay, in terms of climate change, and we don't even respect the nature. Things like, small pearl water bodies, these have got all filled up, and with little bit of rain, whole city goes underwater. The other issue, the things are of the issues of Indian cities, that we have many villages in the city. We take away the land of the village for the urban development, and we leave the core of the village to die. We leave it as we call it Lal Dora. Okay, and it is out of the bound for planners, and we can do anything inside. And outside land you take it away, and they live in this kind of a pathetic situation. And this is true for hundreds of villages which become part of the city. We see this slum-like situation. The other issues of all this, informal activities on the streets and the footpath, because you find that our economy is urban, but half of the urban economy is happening on the footpath. And this is the informal sector. We have no space for them in urban planning. Because you don't provide for space, they come on the street. And we use their facilities. And this is all over the place. This is from Guwahati. There's the whole issues of land management. I think Bhubaneswar is also now beginning to do town planning scheme from Gujarat model line. Know some of my friends who are working. So basically what you find that in urban planning in India, one is the issue of land, that we need the land for road, open space and amenities. And if you only go for land acquisition, now people are not giving land. We cannot now build Chandigarh and New Delhi and New Bombay anymore. You acquire hundreds of square kilometers, we can't do it now. So, in absence of that, we have now little space between the building. You go to that area, there's a traffic jam, then on the plot you have higher FSI, etc. You will find that all of these areas are deficient in road, open space and amenities. Absolutely, all over India. I haven't seen any place which is beyond which the land is acquired, we have no proper infrastructure. And if infrastructure is not there, space is not there, I cannot put in the pipeline, I cannot build the roads. So I live in this kind of situation, cities after cities. And we have to find out a way to solve this problem, that we need land for the public purpose. And that land is not available, and the mechanism is not available properly, and it is creating problem all over the place. You can see, all this is saying that all of them are missing. This is, I'm showing you a plan for the city of Hyderabad that I did about 15 years ago. The plan is in force right now. It's about 8,000 square kilometer area for a city of 1.8 crore people. But what we did was that we did this whole environmental land suitability. The lot of the area that is marked as green, we have said that this area cannot be developed because these are ecologically sensitive, fertile land, no water catchment area. Only the brown area can be built. I had a huge problem with some of the politicians because some of the one member of parliament was in that green area. He went and complained to YSR. I was called. Then I had to explain. And luckily the chief minister was in my favor. He said, you change your constituency, but the plan will not be changed. So we managed that generally we want to expand the city. We never analyze the land. We just build whatever. We have to protect the ecologically sensitive area and build the remaining land that is more than enough. And this is, we are not doing for cities after cities. This is done with what Chandrababu said. This is some amount of modeling. I am not saying everything, but at least we are able to protect the some of the sensitive areas. This is a kind of a large city. We also need to now look at cities not as a municipality, but we have to look at a hinterland as a metropolitan area. And you have to integrate rural and urban. So there's nothing like a rural and nothing like an urban. Rural and urban have to integrate together so that people don't have to migrate from the village to the city for work. They can come by motorcycle, go back. And we also provide them with a rural infrastructure for them to live there. So we have to talk about a larger area where the green and the built-up area is built together. We have amended the constitution. Every city now, large cities should have a metropolitan region, but I don't think everybody has done that. Even Gujarat has not done it. A whole lot of things, but I'm not so much talking. The other issue is that what I built for the city of Hyderabad, we created a zone what we call the urban agriculture. That means generally what happens when we build a city. The city and next part is agricultural land. That is what everybody encroach. So we created a buffer about a kilometer, which is for urban agriculture, where we can allow people to build, maybe building with 1 or 2 floors. And it has worked so beautifully. Hyderabad is now called as a tree city of India because people have done so much of plantation and agriculture, farming, etc. And it is changing. So maybe this is a model that we can adopt for the other cities. I also had a chance to work for the high-tech city, Hyderabad. And in India, you find that you don't get a clean slate of land. What is shown on the left-hand side is a city. The part is land is already built, and then Chandrababu Naidu decided to make a cyber city. So we have to make like a plan out of this. It is like a stitching on clothes and make a pattern out of it. But it has been finally, it is successful. Because now Indian urban planning, we have to work with a brownfield situation and we have to make some sense within that situation. We cannot get clean slate of land and do whatever you want. Here are some pictures. Now, this is for this is from Shimla that is just completed last year, and the whole National Green Tribunal had put a freeze on any development in Shimla because it said that it had crossed the carrying capacity. Yeah. So then we went, but freezing was done only for the municipal area. The actual boundary was much larger. And we did all these studies. I showed you the picture, the building that are hanging, etc., etc. So finally, we worked on the plan. We said, okay, let's create an alternative to the city downhill where the local population can stay and leave the core city for the tourists because it has already crossed the population. And finally, the plan has been approved. These are the density level, etc. calculations. So here now with the GIS technology, we can analyze the land in terms of slope, ground cover, everything is possible now. Earlier it was not there. We used to do only on the blueprint. So you can see, so finally we propose, these are the clusters of new development. and so that it reduce the pressure in the core area. The plan has been now approved, and hopefully, and we also talk about the whole issue of transport in the hill areas where it is not possible to move at all. We cannot build any road, too many cars. So now about 55 kilometers of ropeway is under construction because it can take care of the tourists and the local population. This can be done for many hill towns in India, including Darjeeling, Shillong. हर जगह में ये भी हो सकता है. So I'll just talk about one project and then I'll stop. I have many more things. I want to say this is from the city of Jaipur, and I want to say that we have a lot to learn from our historic cities and reinterpret. What we are doing is that we are cancelling the old city, saying that this is all junk, it is highly dense. We build a new city with skyscraper and glass, and it is not really appropriate. We can learn from our city. Jaipur is a part of the golden triangle of Indian tourism. Unfortunately, there is no plan for the triangle. But it is an example with a 45-degree temperature, low-rise, high-density building with courtyard. It works absolutely fine. And we had a chance to plan for an area which is learning from the Jaipur and plan a newer area which can use the learning from the historic city, planning a newer city. And I also had a chance to work on the urban renewal for the Jaipur city as a part of urban renewal mission. There some of the streets and the public spaces are worked out. And this is Jaipur, and coming back to using tourism as an element, we can refurnish the whole city. I'll come back to the example. This is Jaipur has been taken care of. Now it is part of the UNESCO World Heritage City. And finally coming back to the new city that we planned in the name of the architect of the Jaipur old city called Vidyadhar Bhattacharya. We made a plan for a city about 600 hectares of land for the Jaipur Development Authority. And this is coming here. So here what we are saying is that we want to learn from the historic city and make the new city, picking up the good lesson from the old city and not discard it totally. And that is our attempt, and it is built. Finally, what we did was that we did a bazaar, which is a pedestrian street. Jaipur has a vehicular street, we said we do a pedestrian bazaar. We do a network of open spaces channeling the wastewater, and a building with low-rise, high-density apartment block on the building edge, street edge, to give a character like Jaipur Old City. Bungalows are inside, and now this is built like this. And finally, this is our interpretation for the Jaipur Old City to the today's context, with better transport facilities, better open spaces and amenities the city doesn't have. And finally, this is our entry to the Festival of India. And I'm saying only three principles: a pedestrian bazaar, a bus route, where you can get a bus within 3 to 5 minutes walking distance from home, and a network of green space connecting all the amenities where you can bicycle and walk. I said these are the three principles that you can adopt for any city in India. Okay. And it will work. And it can manifest in a different way. In Bhubaneswar you do it differently, in Jaipur you do it differently, but these are certain things that you can adopt and you can learn from it.
So there should be an opportunity to
more projects, but
adopt. Surely, sir, I apologize for the interruption, but I request if you can share all these PPTs, we can upload this in our site so that people can get some information through this and we can adopt some of the ideas of yours. Thank you so much for the presentation, sir. I think let's move forward for a short discussion because it's a very important topic. So please join us for the discussion. We'll take it, sir. 1 second. We'll take it. No problem. उड़ीसा में पुनश्च पृथ्वी के इस कार्यक्रम में आप दोनों का स्वागत है. Thank you so much for joining us here today. चंद्रभूषण जी, मैं आपसे शुरू करना चाहूंगी। जब हम पर्यावरण के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं तो भारत जैसे तेजी से विकासशील देशों के शहर आर्थिक विकास और पर्यावरण स्थिरता के बीच बिना किसी समझौते के कैसे संतुलन बना सकते हैं, इसमें आपका राय क्या है?
एक्चुअली ये काफी कठिन सवाल है। सवाल लगता बहुत आसान है, लेकिन ये कठिन इसलिए है कि आपने उत्पल शर्मा जी का प्रेजेंटेशन देखा है कि हमारे जो शहर हैं, अभी के शहर, वो पुराने शहर हैं, और हमारा जो टाउन प्लानिंग है वो एक बड़े छोटे एरिया के लिए करते हैं और पेरी अर्बन एरिया बढ़ते जा रहा है। इनफैक्ट मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द सिटीज में जो म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन है वो it might not be even half of the total urban agglomeration, even maybe 1/3. More people live outside municipal boundaries now in some cities than they live within municipal boundary. So having said that, and the third challenge is the rapidity at which we are urbanizing. Now, what we need to do first, I think we need to strengthen our town planning departments. पहला बात ये है, मतलब every state that I have traveled, town and city planning department is possibly the weakest department that I see now. Planning as a process, as an institutional process, is something that is not happening well. Dusra cheez, our planning is not integrated. So we do land use planning is done by someone else. Building construction guideline is done by someone else. Say transport planning is done by someone else. So the integrated planning is also which is missing, and I have already made that point. We now have technology to actually plan and model city outcomes. So अगर मुझे 2-3 आप रिकमेंडेशन पूछेंगे, पहला रिकमेंडेशन ये है कि आप अपने टाउन और सिटी और कंट्री प्लानिंग डिपार्टमेंट को स्ट्रेंथन कीजिए। आप अपने टाउन, कंट्री प्लानिंग और मास्टर प्लान का जो रेगुलेशन है उसको स्ट्रेंथन कीजिए। और तीसरा यह है कि अगर वायलेशंस हैं, और हमारे देश में वायलेशंस काफी होते हैं, आप उसको स्ट्रिक्टली और प्रोएक्टिवली एक्ट कीजिए। अदरवाइज हम लॉ तो बनाते हैं लेकिन उसका इन्फोर्समेंट इज वेरी वेरी पुअर। तो ये 3-4 रिकमेंडेशन है मेरे
जी। प्रोफेसर शर्मा, नीति निर्माता ये कैसे सुनिश्चित कर सकते हैं कि जलवायु अनुकूल रणनीतियां शहरी क्षेत्रों में आर्थिक विकास में बाधा ना डाले? तो इसमें आपका क्या कहना है, आपका मत क्या है?
No, I think the environment has to be considered number one, because that is non-negotiable. And if you consider it, you can always build a plan around it. It doesn't mean that you have to destroy the ecosystem, fill up the water body and make it into buildable land, etc. We can build it around. And if you respect that, your plan will be more resilient and will be more successful. And this is actually all our traditional city planning has always done that. Okay, जयपुर में ओल्ड सिटी में कभी फ्लडिंग नहीं होता है, वो बाकी जगह में होता है. They put the city on the ridge, the water flows out. We have respected those days. We didn't have technology kind of software that we had. They had used a software called Common Sense, but they used it, judiciously, and it doesn't have the problem. Ahmedabad old city doesn't go underwater. Ahmedabad goes underwater. Okay, they have planned it. So we have to learn from our historic cities, derive lessons for today. What we have done is that they have discarded whatever that we had, and we followed the British model of low density, spread out cities, which you cannot afford. Okay, so we need to change our mindset and start working differently. And we need to have even textbook. I don't even have textbook to teach because I'm using this as the case studies. The only textbook are talking about low density planning. So I have to use this case study to say that in reality the ground situation is very different and we have to plan it differently.
Okay. Chandrabhushan ji, when we are talking about global climate dialogue, तो जैसे पेरिस एग्रीमेंट की बात की जाए तो जिला तथा नगरपालिका स्तर पर इसको हम कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं, रणनीतियों में इसको कैसे बदला जा सकता है और इसकी आवश्यकता कितनी है?
the weakest level of government is local government in India. If you really want better governance, then the strongest government should be local government. Okay. In fact, the voting percentage in our local government is 25%. In fact, in many states, local election में 15% लोग भी voting नहीं देते हैं. If you really want proper urbanization, environment-friendly way of living, we all have to participate in urban governance. We will have to elect right people as local government. We will have to strengthen our municipalities. In fact, municipalities in most states possibly have the weakest technical capability. So, if you want municipality and local government to address issues of climate change, then you need to build capacity, provide them with resources. It is only in last couple of decades that money has started coming directly from central government to the municipalities as direct transfer. But also, how many of the powers we have devolved to municipalities? If you do a comparison of a state, you will find that Kerala possibly has devolved the maximum power to local government. Okay. I think we have to see how much devolution has happened in Odisha. So one, provide them resource, empower them, elect right people, strengthen municipality.
But
these are the things you have to do.
Adding to your answer, I would like to know, sir, that when we are talking about the Paris Agreement or any global climate dialogues, does the current trend of urbanization is compatible with that?
As I said, current way of urbanization is not compatible. The way we are building our cities is adding to climate crisis, is adding to global warming. Okay, that is quite clear. Our emissions are increasing, our energy consumption is going up. Our cities are hotter than surrounding area. We call it as urban heat island impact. In fact, the temperature difference between Bhubaneswar and surrounding village is anywhere between 3 to 5 degrees. Okay, so the current pattern of urbanization is not compatible. But one last point I will make, okay? The mayor of London is the most powerful politician of UK. The mayor of London. That is why cities, great cities of the world, are able to do things. You need the most powerful mayor, ward commissioner to run your cities. Okay. Cities cannot be run by state government.
Very nicely said. I think this is a message for the future works for the state government as well. Professor Sharma, when we're talking about the government's action and the government's role in all kind of development, शहरी नियोजन में आर्थिक विकास को साथ लेकर जलवायु परिवर्तन को ध्यान में रखकर आगे बढ़ने के लिए राज्य सरकार की भूमिका कितनी महत्वपूर्ण है आपके हिसाब से?
Now, as I told that 75% of our economy is from the urban area. The 70% people who live in the rural areas, they contribute 25 to 30%, but they are the vote bank. So you have to go there to win the election. The money is in the urban area. Our constitution is done in a way that we have a lot of program for rural development, but urban is not part of the center. So it is done by the state. But state is always broke. They always go to the center looking for money. Okay. And finally they don't give anything back to the city. They said you do with the municipality. You take your tax and do whatever you want. So there is a kind of a mismatch in terms of resource requirement and what is actually available. But I'm saying that if cities contribute 75% of the GDP, then 75% of GST collection should come to the city. And we have to make the amendment to do that. It cannot be done with the house tax or property tax. ये infrastructure बन नहीं सकता. So it is a fundamental change that is required. State has a role to play. Now state is supposed to also work on an urbanization policy for the state. Like Odisha, do you have an urbanization policy for the state? That how the Odisha as the state will become urban? Which city to make bigger? Which city to be smaller? Should it be connected? Should it be corridor development? So each state can make its own proposal as to how the overall development will happen. Instead, we are making plan independently for one city. Okay, so it needs the overall strategy that every state must do. Now Kerala is doing, now Assam is beginning to do, I'm sure Odisha also will do. That is in terms of planning. Resources to come from somewhere else. And we have to make amendment or find out ways, how do I get the land for road, open space and amenities, and even 5% land for the housing for the poor. If I'm able to make that, we will have a breakthrough. It is the lack of space for public domain. And that people are not willing to surrender, obviously, but I have to facilitate that process. If we are able to do that, we will have all the things. We have a very highly dense cities with very little area under road, open space and amenities. We don't even have to do any study to tell that we are awfully inadequate. And we have to expand that.
So I can extract this point that you're trying to say is that as Chandrabhushan sir has also said, that we have to have a very good and efficient planning board first of all. So moving ahead to you, Chandrabhushan sir, being a citizen of Bhubaneswar, पिछले कुछ सालों में हमने तापमान में अप्रत्याशित बढ़ोतरी देखी है, जो आपका रिसर्च रिपोर्ट भी कहता है और ये प्रूफ होता है. लेकिन आपने ये प्रॉब्लम के बारे में बताया, इसके कारण के बारे में बताया. हम आपसे ये जानना चाहेंगे कि हमें इसके मुकाबला करने के लिए क्या क्या करना चाहिए, पॉलिसीज और स्ट्रैटेजीज हमारा क्या होना चाहिए?
In fact, the solutions are quite easy and affordable as far as heat is concerned. We did modeling in a place called Saliasahi, which is your low density slum area, as well as on Rajpath, your high-rise building. And our modeling study shows that simple thing like white roof paint. So instead of Bhubaneswar painting its roof black, okay, if you can paint your roof white, it will reduce temperature of the city, surface temperature, not the city, sorry. Surface temperature by as much as 3 to 4 degrees, okay. In last 7 years, Bhubaneswar built up area has increased by 25%. Its green cover has reduced by 10% and its water body by 75%. So all the ponds that you had in Bhubaneswar is more or less vanishing. You are becoming next Bangalore. You are filling your ponds and you are building city. So you are reducing your green and blue infrastructure. You are reducing green cover and water body, and you are increasing concrete. This is what is happening in the city. Of course, if you are doing that, your urban heat island is going to increase. So Bhubaneswar, because of reduction in green cover and water body and increase in concrete structure, is heating up. Okay. We now need to start greening the city. Okay. And greening doesn't only require open space. You can green your rooftop. You can green facade of your building. You can green road median. You can green pathways. All of them can be done. And as I said, our modeling study in Janpath, sorry, not Rajpath, Janpath and Saliasahi shows that with affordable intervention, Bhubaneswar can reduce temperature by at least a degree. 1 degree will matter.
Okay. So in adding to that, for a sustainable and equitable city, how do you see the integration of the modern technologies like AI, smart grid and all?
I think the potential is extremely high from traffic management. In fact, the use of AI for traffic management, if we use it carefully, it will reduce congestion. Okay. Improve your public transport. Okay. So from planning to actually reducing congestion, modeling cities and seeing the impact of master plan, I mean to say the potential is, unlimited as far as use of AI and technology is concerned in urban governance. It is unlimited.
Well, thank you so much for your insightful words. Thank you, Professor Sarma. We really appreciate your presence over here. ये आशा जरूर हम सबके बीच है. Likewise, your report, we will definitely work forward on this, and we also request the state government also work on this project. Thank you so much for joining us with us today for this discussion. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So we can take questions after this session, sir. We can take these questions. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. ये सम्मेलन तृतीय दिवस को आपण मानकु समस्त को स्वागत करुछि मु स्वस्तिका इन पार्टनरशिप विथ शिक्षा और अनुसंधान डीम्ड टू बी यूनिवर्सिटी कीट सीवी रमन ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी जीएमडीसी टाटा स्टील वेदांत एकराइज आर्शेलरमित्तल निप्पॉन स्टील इंडिया पारादीप फॉस्फेट्स लिमिटेड बकुल फाउंडेशन यूथ फॉर सस्टेनेबिलिटी सॉक्रेटिस नालंदा इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी फाउंडेशन अनेक समय रे आमे विभिन्न प्रसंग को नहीं आलोचना करू किंतु ए तीन दिनिया सम्मेलन रे जेतेबेले परिवेश एवं ता संपर्कित अनेक कथा को नहीं आलोचना हेउछि सेतेबेले ये आशा समस्तक मनरे जे आगामी भविष्यत पई जेतेबेले आमे रोड मैप प्रस्तुत करूछु सेतेबेले आमर एही अतिथि मानक आलोचना रु बाहरुथबा अनेक परामर्श सेतिरे कार्यकारी हेबो आज एकाठी आमे होछु आउ काली पई चिंता करूछु परिवेश जहा पई आमे निरंतर कार्यरत संवाद ग्रुप रो ये प्रचेष्टा जेउथि पई गत वर्ष मध्य 3 दिनिया सम्मेलनी 147 निर्वाचन मंडली रे क्लाइमेट पंचायत करे नेता जनता शिक्षाविद परिवेशविद छात्र छात्री बुद्धिजीवी को एकाठी करे आगामी भविष्यत पई चिंतन करागला चलित वर्ष मध्य जेतेबेले पुनश्च दक्षता वृद्धि करी एवं स्थानीय संप्रदाय को शामिल करी उत्सव शोषण रे दीर्घस्थायी बनना को भी चैलेंज करता है सामूहिक संपत्ति भावरे पुनः निर्माण करा जायथा है जहां दीर्घकालीन परिवेश एवं अर्थनैतिक स्वास्थ्य पई बुद्धिमान भावरे परिचालित हुए तेणु ए शीर्षक रे आमर आलोचना ग्रीन माइनिंग इम्पैक्ट ऑन डिस्कोर्स ऑफ नेचुरल रिसोर्सेस एथिरे आम सहित अतिथि भावरे पैनल रे शामिल हेबे श्रीजुक्त स्टालिन नायक फाउंडर एंड चेयरपर्सन ऑफ पैंटर्स ग्रुप ऑफ नॉन प्रॉफिट्स तांकर अनेक कार्य पई से अनेक मंचरे पुरस्कृत होइछंती स्टालिन नायक पूर्व भारतीय राज्य आम ओडिशार छोटनागपुर मालभूमिर संप्रदाय पई उत्सर्गीकृत पांटे संस्थार समूह परिचालना करती जे युवक मानक सहित सामाजिक प्रसंग विशेषकर आदिवासी संप्रदायर विकास क्षेत्र में मध्य से काम करते आम सहित ए सेशन रे रहिबे श्रीजुक्त प्रमोद कुमार पात्र एग्जीक्यूटिव वाइस प्रेसिडेंट एंड हेड बीकेटी क्लस्टर जिंदल स्टील परिवेश क्षेत्र में परिवेश सचेतनता पई से अनेक कार्यक्रम तांका अनुष्ठान जरिया रे काम जरिया रे करूछंती जिंदल फाउंडेशन अधीन रे वृक्षरोपण अभियान रा से नेतृत्व मध्य नैछंती ओपी जिंदल का स्मरणीय दिवस और स्थानीय संप्रदायर कल्याण भली कार्यक्रम रे से बड़बिल काशिया और टेंसा क्लस्टर रा वरिष्ठ नेतृत्व मंडली रा प्रतिनिधित्व मध्य करंती तांको आज रा हमर ए कार्यक्रम को आमे स्वागत करूछु ए सेशन रा परिचालना करिबे श्रीजुक्त अंबिका प्रसाद नंद क्लाइमेट रिसर्चर फॉर्मर मेंबर ऑफ द स्टेट प्लानिंग बोर्ड गवर्नमेंट ऑफ ओडिशा से अनेक क्षेत्र रे काम करे प्रशंसनीय भी होइछंती आमे तांको अनुरोध करिबु मंच ऊपर को आसीबे श्रीजुक्त स्टालिन नायक श्रीजुक्त प्रमोद कुमार पात्र एवं श्रीजुक्त अंबिका प्रसाद नंद अनुरोध करी संवाद एवं कनक संपादक तनया पट्टनायक को से मध्य मंच उपर को आसबे एवं आम अतिथि मान को संबर्धित करेंगे। Thank you, ma'am.
समस्त को आउ थे स्वागत करुच्ची जो माने बयस मोठार बड़ समस्त मोर नमस्कार एवं मोर सहयात्री बंधुगण मु स्टेज को आसला बेलू अनिल भाई मते तले बसी कहले मु प्रिपेयर करथली काहा उपरे कहबी कोन कहबी से मते कहले युवक मान को बाइक आउ जो मन टिके बयस बड़ तांकू माइक देले से छाड़बेनी तेणु आम अल्प सारू अध घंटे दायित्व नहीं तार भितर करूँ आ विशेषकर मो सहित जो दुई जन पैनलिस्ट अच्छा दे आर वेरी एक्सपीरियंस्ड नेचुरली से माने को भाव में ग्रीन माइनिंग ता उपर निश्चित फोकस करेंगे मुझे जानी आपण मैंने जो मैंने ये बसी शुणापी आसी समस्ते परिवेश सचेतन एवं समस्ते आर उपर काम करुँच मु दुईटी कथा कहीकि आम आलोचना को जीवा आई ऑलवेज बिलीव दैट we have not inherited this planet from our forefathers, rather we have borrowed it from our children. तेणु आम जो भी भाव में आर रक्षाबक्षण करने कथा से आमर निश्चित निश्चित भाव में मोराल रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी मु केवल सामाजिक दायित्व हिसाब से कही छोटिया करदेविनी दैट्स आवर मोराल रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आउ सेकेंड हूँ आपण मैंने समस्ते ये अच्छा मु गोटे थर यही लिटरेचर उपर डिस्कसन में श्रीजुक्त सौम्यरंजन पट्टनायक गोटे भल स्टेटमेंट देते जेहेतु बहुत जर्नालीस्ट आ भर थे जर्नालीस्ट मानकर लेखाटा को सब कहते लिटरेचर इन ए हरी माने जल्दी आमको सारिबार अच्छी तेणु ताकू नहीं कि कम समय भितर किभली भाव में आम गोटे ताकू लेखिकरी प्रतिपादन करवा बट गोटे जर्नालीस्टिक आर्टिकल लाइफटा बेसी समय पाई नुह आ मु अनुरोध करी ये तनया मैडम भी अच्छा आपण मैंने समस्ते अच्छा इफ यू आर नॉट क्रिएटिंग लिटरेचर वी डोंट नीड टू बी इन ए हरी बट वी नीड टू क्रिएट लिटरेचर फॉर आवर नेक्स्ट जनरेशन बिकॉज द रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज टू क्रिएट मोरल वैल्यूज फॉर आवर नेक्स्ट जनरेशन आटा को आम कर जदि ये कार्यक्रम को आम सचेतन भाव में खाली आलोचना करवानी ताको काम को नवा मु एति कहीकि वर्तमान मु रखी मु वर्तमान अनुरोध करी स्टालिन को से प्रथमे तांकर सेठ रखी आम आलोचना करवा ग्रीन माइनिंग आउ ग्रीन रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ता भितर आपण टिके आलोकपात करंतु
Hi, good morning everyone. So as an agency we have been working exclusively for the mining affected community in Odisha, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. So when I say mining, though I am an engineer as well as a social science practitioner, the moment I say mining, many of the people start perceiving that we are one of the goons keeping revolver in our pocket and doing some firing and all. But you know, mining is having an inevitable part of this state. Let it be a media house or a automobile showroom or an animal husbandry industry, anything. You just check out. They have some relation with the mining in Odisha. So in terms of, as sir said, what is like green mining? So green mining is basically sustainable usage of resources, efficient usage of resources, usage of renewable energy in the mining, natural resources management, and most important, when we say mining, it is not about only the mining in the industry, it is also about the community around mining. So that is, as a biggest stakeholder, how we integrate them sustainably for the years together is a holistic approach of the green mining. Now coming back, how we are working in this particular segment in this our state. Recently, in last few years, we have been developing a perspective plan for the mining affected region. When we are doing this plan, on an average, we have now studied average 50,000 household or 30,000, from a range of 30,000 to 50,000 household as a primary survey, as a household survey. We have developed at least 300 to 400 village development plans in one mining affected block through a participatory rural appraisal exercises. We have mapped almost majority of the assets in the rural ecosystem which are around the mining regions. So we have developed this such dashboard which is helping not only to the government but also to the industries to plan out through such big data. Because earlier most of the data was mostly from the secondary resources. Now we are building it to the primary resources. Recently we presented to the Tata Steel also. How can they use this data and to plan? So this planning helps us how there will be a best habitation planning. This planning helps us What should be the logistic plan? Recently we partnered with the IIM Mumbai. How can be the best logistic plan in the mining area for the resource efficiency? We are also creating some maps of natural resources management. A small thing I would like to share, in one of the study we came to know many of the water bodies have been lost in the mining region. The reason behind, due to the movement of heavy earth moving machineries, the topography is being getting disturbed. So the drainage pattern getting disturbed. So therefore this may be one of the vital reason for which the water bodies are being lost. So while we are doing the green mining, first thing we have been working extensively to create a robust mapping of the resources as well as the plan which help us to create a perspective planning. So that helps us one. In the second phase, what we are working, we are creating a very, in the mining after agriculture, so-called there are a least workforce who have been trained in a formal education system after agriculture. So we are India's largest body to create skilled workforce for the mining and allied sectors. In Odisha, we brought almost all the most advanced vehicle from the Volvo, Komatsu, Kobelco and everything. And we as a team tried to get the people from the village, from the community itself to get trained on this particular vehicle so that they can get engaged in the mining. So you must be surprised using the vehicle how it is green mining. These all vehicles are the resource efficient vehicles. These are very expensive. When we are training them, we say you are not driver, you are operator. When we say operator, it comes with a lot of sense of responsibility. We have developed so many virtual reality machines, simulators, AR and all, which has been enabled that it comes with highest resource efficiency pattern that they are being trained to operate in the mine as an operator. We claim to the mining industries, we are having a client base with almost most of the mining industries in Odisha as well as Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. We claim them our operator will make you ensure to attain the environmental management system approach, which is a very important part in the corporate governance. You can attain the ISO 14001 standard also by if you take our operators, because our course curriculum helps them to have the highest order of climate change aspect or resource efficiency aspect or how to use it. We are the team who brought to create workforce in the electric vehicle in the mining. Sir was from the Tata Steel. Tata Steel Mining brought the first electric vehicle in the mining sector as a dumper, which is manufactured by Indian homegrown called Propel. We trained the people in that. So we are creating with the Repsol as well as the Naira Energy to create fleets of electric vehicle in the mining. So that is how we are trying to ensure it. Every year we are giving 300 people who are trained in repairing, maintaining the electric vehicle in the mining. So that is the second phase, how we are building a robust, skilled workforce who are being trained to ensure green mining in those mining industries in Odisha. So that is the second aspect which we have been working. And other aspect also we can discuss about the Erratic.
Yeah, thank you, Stalin. Like technology plays an important role in ensuring sustainability of resources. So I will go to next, Pramod Babu. Like, how do you really ensure that the ecosystem where we do mining, they are carrying capacity in terms of water, forest and air is maintained so that the communities over there have a quality life? If you can throw some lights on your work experience.
Jai Jagannath, Bande Utkal Janani. Thank you very much Tanmaya ji and Sambad group for calling me for this discussion. ମୁଁ କିଛି କହିବା ଆଗରୁ ନିଶ୍ଚୟ କହିବି I am blessed. ମୁଁ ବଡ଼ବିଲ ଯୋଡ଼ା ଏରିଆ ରହୁଛି ଯୋଉଠି କି waterfall जोटा कि rainfall 3000 mm होची and we feel blessed we are getting the best rainfall there over the mining field area rather than the Bhubaneswar. Bhubaneswar is 1500 600 rainfall. So beautiful environment. Told me how it will restore. Yes, it is possible because the prosperity and peace cannot go together. If we'll say prosperity will be there, peace cannot go. Development is there, destruction will be there. So most important, what is your attitude to control the destruction and undeveloped deterioration? That is the most important. that belongs to our own attitude. Because habits make it success. People do not decide their future, people decide their habits, and habits decide their future. In our mining area, in particularly Jindal Steel and Power, Jindal Steel, we are committed to restore the resources. First of all, the forest growth only when required we are cutting the trees. God has given all the natural resources inside the forest. You cannot do anything. Iron ore inside the forest. Limestone, dolomite also there. So we have to cut the trees, but we have to do the compensatory afforestation. So we have to protect them. And we have to take responsibility till growth of the trees. Because you have to do the equal forest generation. Second is the air, because the world is based on the cause and effect. We should not work on the effect. We are working the analysis as per the data, but we are taking the data for analysis and implementation. Rather, we have to work proactively for implementation on the cause, because in the mining, generally we focus at the generation source of the dust. If we are controlling at the source, then dust will not go outside of the to the atmosphere. And then water, because water should not go without treatment to the natural nalas. That is our prime duty, because after doing the mining, the surface get exposed to the environment and water get polluted. So we collect those water, we retreat it, then after proper treatment, we allow water to go outside if required. Otherwise, we have to do the ground discharge after proper treatment, or we have to collect the water for reuse of the garden, reuse for our haul road maintenance, and reuse in our industry purpose. And another is the soil. Soil is important, because when we are doing the mining, we have to remove the topsoil. At topsoil, generally we are gathering for the plantation purpose, for future use. So, trees like forest, like air, like water, like soils, all those are possible to protect and restore. And most important is the less utilization, minimum utilization of the resources to keep them reserved for the future generation. So Jindal Steel is working on this for the restoration of the resource, proper utilization of the resource, and protection of the resource. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pramod Babu. We will come to you once again. Stalin, you shared about the participatory rural appraisal. And could you just throw more light on how do the community over there, they participate? Because what we have seen in the most of the mining locations, the tribal communities, they are less articulate and they do not speak, they do not demand most of the things. But how do you really ensure that their participation is part of your, part of whatever is the mining activities happening through your engagement with various companies? Could you please throw some light on that?
Absolutely. So, when we go from the mining company side, so there is of course a part of resistance, because there is a part of displacement, there is a part of social advocacy and all. So in that case, we find a lot of resistance, but in many of the cases, what we have been doing through a PRA is with the help of the government machineries. We take the help of PRI leaders, which are the most important. So initial days, we bring all the PRI leaders to one forum. There we train them. We try to convince them through our tools, and we make them, the whole plan which we are making is for their development. It's not to grab their land, or it's not for the land acquisition. So this is only the model for which we are able to create a big data plans with a perspective planning. But as you said, sir, if you would have been going through the industry side, as doing just a simple baseline survey as a part of social impact assessment, so there we must have come through a lot of resistance. So that helped us, this approach helped us to create a sustainable data in a bigger way for the entire area.
Thanks. Pramod Babu, you shared about the way you are doing mining. anywhere any mining is done, there is positive as well as negative externalities in terms of environmental impact. जो मैंने liberal economists or free market economists like Hayek and Milton Friedman, they said privatize, the externalities would be managed. But Eleanor Ostrom, the political scientist, who is the only woman, is a political scientist but got Nobel for economist, because she said that to manage the external negative externalities, you need the regulatory authority of the government to intervene and control. So how do you really manage so that the external negative externalities, especially impact on environment, the water, the carbon footprint, how do you really ensure so that it's not negative carbon footprint, but it's positive carbon footprint? How do you ensure that?
Yeah, you see, generally we face such type of incidents in society also, in my view of the economist, in view of the political, in view of the stakeholders. The first thing is you have to lead by example, because what you are saying you have to do in execution. That is the most important. And our regulatory laws are very much self-sufficient. We have sufficient laws in our Odisha, you can say in the central laws, the environmental laws, the state pollution board is there, the MOEF is there, those things are there. So first thing we have to commit, we have to integrate what we are committing, we have to accept, number one. And people should start believing, yes, we are environmental friendly miners or we are environmental friendly industries. So that the gaps, the friction between the industry as well as the local stakeholders, that will be minimized. And you see, the mainly the mining area, the vehiculars movement creates the carbon that we have to control through the electrification, electrical vehicles, what you are telling. So we have to substitute through the various renewable energy as well as electrical vehicles. Those things are also, we have started doing the solar power, wind power, so that the minimum impact will be there on the environment. And it is possible through the execution, means commitment towards our obligatory duties. It is not only the statutory requirement, it is our obligatory duty towards the society, towards the industry, being the important industry in the country. Thank you, sir.
Stalin, you wanted to throw more lights on this, please.
So as we know, most of the mines get exhausted after some time. So the whole process, the process says as we take the mines, as we take the land, we have to give back to the land in the similar way in the community. So initial phases, we start uprooting of the trees or removing the homestead land. Then we remove the topsoil, as sir said. Then we remove the OB, overburden. Then we do mining. So after it gets exhausted, we have to follow the same process. We have to put in all these things and get the vegetation over that particular land and give back that particular land to the community. This particular process is known as the reclamation. So when I say about reclamation and mines, they are very much attached. And we as a agency have been working across different states. So why it is very important? Because if you see, most of the people residing around mines have a dependency on that mining activity. So when the mines gets exhausted, their livelihood becomes into a stake. So having a transition from a mine-based economy to a green economy, this whole process is known as a just transition, which is a buzzword across the globe. That is something which Odisha is getting ready now. I'll give you a few examples. Odisha as a state is building no more of mining refugee after some years, rather they are creating climate champions. I would request, because I am staying in a media house, whenever we say a fund called DMF, now many of the Odisha people think it is a cheat fund. So, but there have been best of the examples when most of the districts have been created around the DMF fund. Let us take the example. We have been a part of many of the it is across the value chain. They not only plant the tussar, they also get the silk and supply to the certificate, the whole value chain. You see, Another 300 acres of the land, same in Jajpur, which is producing tons of guavas. And all the people who have been engaged are the women. So we are not talking about green mining. Odisha is also talking about the inclusivity, gender inclusivity in the green mining. That is the model we have created. You go to Keunjhar, same in the guava, same in the tussar. You go to a mining region in Kalahandi, 80 acres of coffee plantation. See how we are getting ready. Even though our mines is being existed in a few years, we are not creating mining refugees. Though it is, we have to scale it up, still we are building a lot of green jobs, green enterprise, building a robust institute. Now, many of the climate activists may question when you are building such, farm-based enterprises, it must have a toxicity, chemical toxicity in terms of soil and air and all. Let me tell you, sir and ma'am, when we are linking to the market, I remember when we were discussing with one of the top civil servant, he asked us, don't go for retail sales. We asked that we will process the product. They said, no, you directly go for a buyback, integrate this product to the market, integrate to a bigger farms like Mother Dairy or something. Let them take this product for a year and understand whether our product is up to the standard and quality. They are not carcinogenic, no toxicity. Then we will go for our processing. That is how we are building green enterprises across the Odisha, around the mining land, building the people connecting to these green enterprises.
Yeah, I think, Stalin, you believe in participation. We must have some question and answers also. So maybe one remark from you, Pramod Babu. The world has moved from green economy to rainbow economy. So it has a variety of colors. And Odisha has all the opportunities. How do you ensure that your responsibility is not just in the periphery of the mining locations, but how do you really contribute for the larger economy of Odisha or engagement in that? Like giving an example, if it's big mining is done at Keunjhar and the ore is taken to Paradip, the way you travel, the road you travel, you are also morally responsible for the development of the entire road. How do you ensure that there is also engagement for the larger economic development for Odisha? Maybe just in 2 minutes that we'll take questions.
Yeah, we'll certainly complete. We'll be happy to know. We are putting the end user plant, the steel plant at Angul. It is the single location, the highest capacity steel plant we are putting. Just recently we have increased up to the 12 million ton capacity steel. And also we are putting the slurry pipeline. We are putting the slurry pipeline from our mining area, our grinding and slurry, so that it will be very, very less impact on the environment. And more important, participation with the government for making the roads. When there is not feasible, also we are participating. We are contributing lots in DMA pond and also royalty, so that whenever required, because we should not limit our responsibility within the mining list. Because where the material is going, like we are going to the end user, we are going to our plants, it is going to our steel plants area. So our responsibility extended up to that end. So it is a value addition, like slurry pipeline, economical growth of the dedicated corridor is required for taking the material through the dedicated corridor for transportation systems. So in the total prospective way, beyond the mining lease, we are participating, and the agent require and laws is their support. Our general foundation is working for the growth of society, as well as supporting the economical income source of the society in the whole. Thank you.
Because they have so much of experience, just have patience. We'll take few questions, maybe 2-3 questions. So there is a person who just stood up. Maybe just introduce and be brief in raising the question. Yeah, please.
मो ना हूँ इंजीनियर विश्वजित महांती माइनिंग फील्ड रे मु प्राय 12 वर्ष काम करिछि आज ए सिविल इंजीनियर कथा होछि सार जा कहले जे आमे रोड को बंचाया पई आमे जदि स्लरी रे कोनोसी माल आणुचंती दूर जगह को ताले से स्लरी रे आमे एक रे पानी नष्ट करचंती आम सेतरे मिनरल मिसै की पानी टाकू नष्ट कर देले पुणी आसी की जोठी डेस्टिनेशन सेठी पुणी ताकू सुखै की मटेरियल्स बाहर करचंती एवं सेही पानी टाकू नदी रे छाडी दउचंती एटा परिवेश प्रति खराब नुहे कि एक दुई रे सार जो कहले जे आमे माइनिंग करूछु माइनिंग परे आमे सेटा को पोती दउछु एवं गछ लगाउछु अनेक जगह रे माइनिंग परे से खाल होइकी पड़िकी रहिछि माने फुट एंड फुट गभीर जोथरे कि पानी वर्ष वर्ष धरिक रहुछि सेठी साप एवं विभिन्न प्रकार वन्य जंतु रहुचंती से पानी रो कोन आमे यूटिलाइजेशन करि परदा फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ द एनवायरनमेंट.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Please introduce and be brief. When I saw your enthusiasm in the previous session, so please be brief.
But my question was not taken in the previous session. I mean the first and second speakers. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I myself, Rajkishore Mahanti, I am retired additional secretary from Government of Odisha. My question to Stalin Babu, you talk of DMF fund. So this district mineral fund is a earmarked fund. It is meant to be utilized for the peripheral development of the locals affected by these mining activities. But recently, the present government has raised some objection questions that this fund has not been utilized for the very purpose for which it was created. So do you have any statistics that from Jajpur or Keuncha district? So what were the DMF funds for the last 1 year only, and whether this entire fund has been utilized for the very purpose for which it was created?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
sir.
that's your
Thank you. Very, very brief. Any more questions? Otherwise, we'll go to the. Stalin, maybe to start with you. Be brief.
So the first question, which sir said ki there have been many land sites which has been lying empty. That I agree. So that is what is a part of social advocacy. A lot of agencies are working on that particular aspect. But at the same time also I want to say that there has been also many sites which has been developed also. I would request everyone to go to Brajraj Nagar of Jharsuguda. So there are 4 abandoned mines in Odisha. One is Chendipada, Usipi, Nangul. It's not the conventional Chendipada. We have Basundhara, there are certain abandoned mines, and also Orient 1, 2, 3, 4. So one of the abandoned mines which has been developed to a beautiful ecosystem park, and also you can just visit that park just to have a glimpse that how mining operates, just like in the replica of the Seven Sisters in Australia. You can see a lot of beautiful floras and faunas over that. And as you said, there are a lot of water. Continuously it is being depumped or it is pumped out to get it through recycled and supplied to different periphery areas.
Stalin,
so that is what a model
just
we have
to be
been established.
disciplined on time,
Yeah.
do you have any information what he raised the question? DMF funds
So I
available
said
in?
the question sir said.
You respond to this, maybe he would. Because
Okay,
he is
by the DMF
Jajpur.
fund, yes.
Okay.
So that is one of the best model Odisha
Okay,
has seen.
perfect.
So maybe other model will come. Coming back to the DMF fund, so it is a matter of financial things, but as far as I know, many of the funds have been also utilized to create best livelihood models. And let me tell you, sir, the rule of the DMF says the funds will only be utilized in terms of livelihood, skill, enterprise and anything for the people who only belong to the mining affected block. That's the absolute mandate. What you are questioning is infrastructure. So in infrastructure, in many of the district hospitals are made, roads are made and so on. But that is a bigger question. But let me tell you, the claim of the government, when we build hospital out of the DMF fund in a non-DMF area, that is true. But the patients do also come from the mining area. So that is what the claim is that. But if I compositely answer, there has been a lot of livelihood intervention, skill intervention, or employment-based intervention that can only cater to the people from the mining affected region.
Thank
no
you,
one
Stalin.
else.
Thank you, Stalin. Yeah, Pramod.
Yeah, regarding your slurry pipeline, what you have asked, you cannot leave the raw water into the water main line. Okay, this is the first principle, number 1. Number 2, when you are taking the slurry, you have to take back that water again to the source. So what we have adapted. So we cannot leave the water as it is to the natural nalas or pond or river or ocean, so that it will pollute it again further. So before putting into the natural river or nalas, you have to treat them, number 1. If not, generally now advising to take the water to the back to the source, so that again that water will be utilized for pushing the slurries. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, friends, and thank you, the good audience, for your lovely cooperation. If you just have a look, maybe just concluding remarks, आपण जे देखिबे विश्व रे जते प्रकार स्पेसीज अछंती, human species is only 0.01%. But the entire development initiative globally हेची एई स्पेसीज रो केवल प्रमोशन तांकर डेवलपमेंट एवं तांकर ग्रोथ पाए. बट वी हैव नेग्लेक्टेड द फ्लोरा एंड फौना जोटा बी इट माइनिंग इज एसेंशियल फॉर ऑल आवर डेवलपमेंट. कहीं डेवलपमेंट इंडिकेटर्स आप देखुं पर हेड स्टील कंजम्पशन केते पर हेड द वर्ल्ड इज नॉट दैट बैड. लाइक यस्टरडे एम्बर रिपोर्ट सेड दे आमर अल्टरनेटिव बा सोलार एनर्जी रू जति प्रोडक्शन करिसंती वी हैव क्रॉस्ड the power we used to generate from the coal. So world is moving towards renewable and doing something which is sustainable. That's true. But at the same time, there are few ideas, maybe when we listen or read to the reports coming from journalists, that creates a kind of ripple effect. Just an idea, if human species having only 0.01% of representation in the total flora and fauna, in India, we have our unique identity number. If we think of having a similar Aadhaar number for trees, will that be acceptable? So that if you cut one tree, maybe little bigger, calculating the carbon deposit or doing the carbon sink, if we create unique identity number for the trees, probably we are cutting trees, the CAMPA would be more effective. Compensatory forestry would be more effective because we have something to calculate. Similarly, per head consumption of energy is also one of the indicators. If we can promote alternative and renewable energy, probably that would be good enough. And to conclude, it's better to light a candle than blaming the darkness. अंधार को गाली देवा बदल रे जदि गोटे भी मोहम्बती जलई के आमे समस्त निज को आलोकित करि परिबा, probably all of us can bring a huge difference. Thank you for your kind cooperation and thank you Sambad Group for this opportunity to have this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
खुला है आसमां, हरी भरी है ये ज़मीं, ये देखो कितने जुड़े हुए हैं सरज़मीं पर, क्यों न जाने जुड़े हैं हम वाकिफ खड़े, उड़ेंगे आज
परवर्ती सेक्शन बेस गुरुत्वपूर्ण जेतेबेले बारंबार आमे अर्थनीतिर कथा कहू सेथिपाई आजर ए आलोचना. जलवायु परिवर्तन जोगु बन्या, जंगल रे निया, झड़, मरुड़ी भली जलवायु विपर्यय बारंबार घटुछि एवं अधिक गंभीर हेबारे लागिछि. ए घटनागुड़िक केवल मनुष्य जीवन एवं परिवेश प्रति विपद सृष्टि करे नाही, बरं भित्तिभूमि, कृषि, व्यवसाय, सार्वजनीन सेवा को मध्य बाधा दिए, आर्थिक क्षति को बढ़ाए. अर्थनैतिक क्षति को रोकिबा पई क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट भित्तिभूमि रे विनियोग, पूर्व सूचना प्रणाली, स्थायी भूमिर व्यवहार योजना एवं विपर्ययरू रक्षा पाइबा पई आर्थिक व्यवस्था भली कार्यकारी रणनीति आवश्यक. प्रस्तुति एवं स्थिरता को दृढ़ करी समाज जलवायु विपर्ययर दीर्घकालीन अर्थनैतिक प्रभाव को कम करि पारिबो एवं विकास को सुनिश्चित करि पारिबो. जोथिपाई आमर परवर्ती सेशन क्लाइमेट डिजास्टर प्रिवेंशन ऑफ इकोनॉमिक लॉस. ए सेशन रे आम सहित सामिल हेबे आभा मिश्र, महिला सशक्तिकरण एवं जीविका सुधार रे गुरुत्वपूर्ण अवदान रखुथुबा जणे परिचित ना. से यूनाइटेड नेशंस डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम ओडिशार राज्य मुख्य भावरे दीर्घ दिन धरी काम करुछंती. पेशारे जणे डेवलपमेंट एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट. आभा मिश्र महिला अधिकार, आदिवासी समुदाय एवं प्राकृतिक संसाधन परिचालन 30 वर्षरू अधिक अनुभव रखते. 1969 मसीहारू से यूएनडीपी सह कार्य आरंभ करथिले. आज ओडिशार विभिन्न गांव और समुदाय मध्यरे बेस जनाशुना गोटे ना. आम सहित ए सेशन रे रहिबे श्रीजुक्त संजोग साहू फाउंडर एंड डायरेक्टर माटी फार्म्स माटी सहित जड़िथिबा एक युव उद्योगी उद्यमी से होचंती संस्थापक एवं निर्देशक माटी फार्म्स प्राइवेट लिमिटेड ओडिशार माटी को आधार करी संजोग गढ़ी तोड़िचंती एक नुआ कृषि आंदोलन जोंटी छोटो छोटो कृषक मानंको सहभागी करे सुस्ती एवं परिवेश संवेदनशील चाष प्रणाली को से आगे नेउछंती परंपरागत कृषिर सहित नवीन विज्ञान एवं बाजार संजोग को जोड़ी दे माटी फार्म्स आज होईछि ओडिशार एक प्रेरणादायी ना संजोग का लक्ष्य माटी को मान कृषक को सम्मान प्रत्येक चाष को एक गर्वर कहानी रे परिणत करबा आम सहित रहिबे सुष्मिता बेहरा मैडम एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर ओडिशा स्टेट डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट अथॉरिटी ओडिशा रे दुर्योग प्रस्तुति प्रतिक्रिया एवं पुनः निर्माण काम से गुरुत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभांती सुष्मिता बेहरा मैडम ओसडमा भितरे डिजास्टर रिस्क प्रिपेयर्डनेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एवं चीफ विजिलेंस ऑफिसर भावरे महत्वपूर्ण दायित्व निभाउछंती विभिन्न जातीय एवं अंतर्जातीय संस्था सहित एकात्मता साधन करी ओडिशा को दुर्योग प्रतिरोधी राज्य भावरे गढ़ी तोलिबार लक्ष्य नै काम करुछंती ओडिशा रे से जीरो कैजुअलिटी मॉडल योजना को मजबूत करिबारे मुख्य भूमिका निभांती जहाँ आज जातीय एवं अंतर्जातीय स्तर रे आदर्श रूपे परिचय लाभ करिछे मो अनुरोध करिबी आम अतिथि मानंकु मंच उपरकु आसिबे एवं ए सेशन रो परिचालना करिवे कनक न्यूज रो स्पेशल करेस्पोंडेंट अनुज दास तांकु भी अनुरोध करिबी मंच को आसिबे संवाद एवं कनक न्यूज रो संपादक श्रीमती तना पटनायक को मध्य मो अनुरोध करिबी से मंच को आसिबे एवं आम अतिथि मानंकु संबर्धित करिवे
हम वाकिफ खड़े उड़ेंगे आज हाँ है ये हमको यकीन Rise up, it's time to take a stand. This is our moment, the future's in our hands. One voice, together we can change our lives again. Rise up, it's time to take a stand. This is our moment, the future's in our hands. One voice, together we can change our earth again.
थैंक यू
ओडिया रे गोटे कथा अछि जहा पुओ को साप कामुड़ी थाए तांको घर लोक पाळ दौड़ी देखले डरते आ ओडिशा कथा सभी जानिछंती केवल ओडिशा कण ओडिशा रो आखपाख पड़िशा लोक माने मध्य जानिछंती कि हमर सांग साथी बंधु बांधव पालटी जाइछि प्राकृतिक दुर्विपाक आसले मनरे अनेक कथा आसे केवल कथा न छनका पसी जाए कारण प्राकृतिक दुर्विपाक हेले आपे आपे चली आसे क्षयक्षति किछि क्षयक्षति देखा जाए और किछि अदृश्य हो रह जाए किभଳି यार मुकाबला करिया से संपर्क में आलोचना करिया मो सहित तीन विशिष्ट अतिथि अछंती मो बाम पटे अछंती आभा मिश्र मैडम यूएनडीपी रो दायित्व रे राज्य दायित्व रे अछंती आभा मैडम को बाम पटे बसचंती सुस्मिता मैम जे ओसडमा रो एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर ओसडमा कहले डिजास्टर प्रिपेयर्डनेस एमती अनेक कथा आखि सामना को चित्र चली आसुची मैम को बाम पटे बसचंती संजोग साहू फाउंडर माटी फार्म्स माटी सहित जड़ित व्यक्ति सेते हुए तो संस्थार नाम माटी फार्म्स विस्तृत भाव में कथा हवा किंतु ता पूर्व जेत आम प्राकृतिक दुर्विपाक कथा कहूँ 19 मसीहार महाबात्या परे परे आम अनेक बात्या को देखीचु से हुडुड कहतु फाइलिन कहतु एमती प्रत्येक वर्ष छोट बड़ प्राकृतिक दुर्विपाक आसुची ए प्राकृतिक दुर्विपाक आसले जेतले आमे कौन सी जगह पहुंचे जो लोक मैंने समस्या भोगी था अनेक किसी देखा जाए कहार डंगा भांगी जाइए कहार घर भांगी जाइए सब किसी उजुड़ी जाइए किंतु ए सबुर कौन मुकाबला करा जाई पारिबो प्रिवेंशन लॉस आमे कौन करि परिबा पूर्व किसी व्यवस्था करि परिबा से विषय कथा मु प्रथमे आभा मैडम प्रतिक्रिया न चाहिए यूएनडीपी अनेक काम करुची विशेष करके डिजास्टर समय सरकार सहित जड़ित होगी किसी टेक्निकल सपोर्ट और ग्राउंड सपोर्ट दियंती आपण मन को एक चित्र आसे कि प्राकृतिक दुर्विपाक हम ताकू तो आम अटकई पारिबा नहीं किंतु आम एमती किसी व्यवस्था करि परिबा कि जो क्षयक्षति होउची ताकू केमिति नियंत्रण करि परिबा बा कम करि परिबा।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद नमस्कार और थैंक यू संवाद ग्रुप मते इठी डाकिबा पई आपण जो प्रश्न पचारे जितेला 1999 रो सुपर साइक्लोन देखिथिलु मु सेही समय रे प्रथम थरे गोटे बात्या जो जगार हेइची और तार इम्पैक्ट कौन अच्छी सेटा देखिली सेठू आम गोटे सबुठ बड़ समस्या देखिलु हाउसिंग रो घर भांगी जाइए समस्त घर तैयारी करिबाटा ताधरे बहुत पैसा भी खर्च हुए परिश्रम भी लगे बट ताकू को प्रकार तैयारी करले जो बात्या हो बन्या हो ताधरे सुदृढ़ रही परिबो तापई गोटे शेल्टर मैनेजमेंट प्रोग्राम करा हैतला टेक्नोलॉजी जेतले खोजिबा को गले आमे देखिलु बहुत टेक्नोलॉजी अछि लोक मानक पाखरे निज पाखरे अछि जो माने करूथिले बट को जगार आमे जो प्रकार शिक्षा पाइलु सेटा हरई देथिलु आपण आसाम रे जो सेठी गोटे आसाम टाइप घर अछि ब्रह्मपुत्र नदी 6 थरे बन्या हुए ता ऊपर घरटा बंचिकी थाए आमे से हिसाब रे जेतले आपण इकोनॉमिक लॉसेस कथा कहले ना तो आपण को घर सबुटु बड़ इकोनॉमिक लॉस तो से हिसाब रे देखिया को
स्ट्रक्चर कथा
स्ट्रक्चर कथा तो सेठी
हम या विषय मैडम कथा बाया पर्वत ये रे सुशील मैडम आपण अनुभव करछन कि लॉस को अटके जी पारंत मैडम स्ट्रक्चर कथा कहउछन्ती
कारण स्ट्रक्चर लॉस हेले ही तो आपण जेतले मो घर बंची गेला तो मोर इकोनॉमिक लॉस हेलानी ना एज अ फैमिली मोर इकोनॉमिक लॉस हेलानी एज अ स्टेट मोर इकोनॉमिक लॉस हेलानी काहे कि मते नुवा घर बनेया को पैसा दबा को पड़ला
हमर एठी घर जल्दी भांगी जाए
घर हमर एठी जल्दी भांगी जाउथला एबे 1999 परे एबे आसिला जेतले देखुछु टिके कम घर भांगुची होची बट तार मात्रा बहुत कमी जाइची जेमती हमें जीरो कैजुअलिटी दिगो को बाहरुछु सेही प्रकार हमर इकोनॉमिक लॉसेस भी हाउसिंग स्पेसिफिकली हाउसिंग रो अलगा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को हमें पछरे आसी सेटा लॉस कम
मैडम किछ स्पेशल प्लानिंग थाए कि स्ट्रक्चर को लेकी विशेष करके जो जगह बात्या प्रोन एरिया जो जगह रे बेसी बात्या होची
समस्त को नमस्कार मु प्रथमे आई कांग्रेचुलेट संवाद फॉर ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सच ए इनिशिएटिव एंड सच ए कॉन्क्लेव जोठी के आपनकर पुनश्च पृथ्वी एई पृथ्वी को आम एते प्रकार जंत्रणा देले बर्तमान में आउ गोटे पृथ्वी कथा चिंता कले किंबा ए पृथ्वी को बर्तमान सजाड़िबार समय आछे इट्स ए वेरी नाइस इनिशिएटिव सेकेंडली अगेन धन्यवाद मते कहबा पई आपण माने सुजोग देइचंती तृतीय कथा जो मो बंधु पचारचंती जे इकोनॉमिक लॉस टा को केमती प्रिवेंट करा जाई परिबो एंड जो एरिया रे डिजास्टर होची से एरिया रे यस इट कैन बी प्रिवेंटेड एंड इट इज बीइंग प्रिवेंटेड आल्सो आमर रेजिलिएंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जो चलीची सेतरे हाउसिंग इज वन ऑफ देम एंड से क्रम आमर जो ओडिशा डिजास्टर रिकवरी प्रोजेक्ट अच्छी आमर फाइल इन 2013 मसीह होता वर्ल्ड बैंक सहायतार आम पाखापाखि 20,000 रेजिलिएंट हाउसेस आम कंस्ट्रक्शन करें एंड जोटा कि गंजाम जिले में मोस्टली 16,000 हाउसेस एवं पुरी जिले में 3,047 हाउसेस एवं खोर्धा जिले में 287 हाउसेस ये जो रेजिलिएंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हाउसेस जो करा जाइए इट इज बेसिकली फैसिलिटी टू दी फिशरमैन कम्युनिटीज जो माने कि शोर लाइन रू 5 किलोमीटर दूर रे से मन को घर तैयारी करा जाइए एवं से घर को से शिफ्टिंग करछंती एवं जदि आपण ग्राउंड ट्रुथिंग कथा कहिबे परवर्ती जो समय रे डिजास्टर आसी से डिजास्टर को से हाउसेस गुडा को विस्तार करछि धन्यवाद
निश्चय से घर किसी लोकंकर साहाय्य भी आसीबो जो माने विशेष करी गंजाम अंचल लोक संजय बाबू आपण घर चिलिका पाखापाखि ना को जगह आपण घर
चिलिका बासिंदा
तो जो आपण चिलिका बासिंदा आपण से चिलिकार माटी पवन मत्स्यजीवी सहित बेस जड़ित थे आ जो समय प्राकृतिक दुर्विपाक हुए आम देखु विशेष प्रभावित मत्स्यजीवी मैंने बहुत हुए आम जो प्रथम आलोचना आम स्ट्रक्चर उपर भी जाऊँ आप अनुभव कर अंचल चिलिका अंचल से स्तर स्ट्रक्चर होती हठात मासे दी मास एक बड़ बात्या आसी जाए आम सुरक्षित भाव एक घरे रही पार आमको सेल्टर होम को जावा पड़ोनी
Actually, it's a very interesting question. First of all, a very good afternoon to everyone. ମୁଁ କିଛି ଦିନ ତଳେ ଚିଲିକାର ପୁରା ସଦର୍ନ ସାଇଡ୍ ରେ ଥିଲି ପୋଡମପେଟା ବୋଲି ଗୋଟେ ଗାଁଟେ ଅଛି ଯୋଉଟା କି କୋଷ୍ଟାଲ ଇରୋଜନ ରେ ବହୁତ ଆଫେକ୍ଟ ହେଇଛି ତ ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ଗଞ୍ଜାମରେ ମାନେ ଚିଲିକା ଯୋଉଠି ସାହେବ କେନାଲଟା ଯୋଉଠୁ ଜଏନ୍ କରୁଛି ଋଷିକୋଳିଆ ନଦୀ ଚିଲିକାର ସଦର୍ନ ସାଇଡ୍ ରେ ତ ସେପଟେ ବି ସେମିତି ଗାଁ ଗୁଡାକ ସବୁ ଯାକ ସିଫ୍ଟ କରିବାକୁ ପଡିଛି ଦେଖିଲେ ମାନେ ଇଟ୍ ଲୁକ୍ସ ଲାଇକ୍ ଏନ୍ ଆପୋକାଲିପ୍ଟିକାଲ ମୁଭି ପୁରା ମାନେ ସମୁଦ୍ର ଭିତରେ ତମକୁ ଦେଖାଯିବ ଘର ଗୁଡାକ ସବୁ ଯାକ ଅଛି ସମୁଦ୍ର ଖାଇ ଯାଇଛି ଗାଁଟାକୁ ତ ନ୍ୟୁ ପୋଡମପେଟା ଯୋଉଟା ହେଇଛି ସେଟା ଟିକେ ଦୂରରେ ହେଇଛି ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଯେମିତି କହିଲେ 5 କିଲୋମିଟର ଖଣ୍ଡେ ଭିତରକୁ ହେଇଛି ଆଉ ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେଠି ତମେ ମତ୍ସ୍ୟଜୀବୀଙ୍କ ସାଥିରେ କଥାବାର୍ତ୍ତା କରିବ ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ ବହୁତ କଷ୍ଟ ହଉଛି ମାନେ ଗ୍ରେଟଫୁଲ ଟୁ ହାଭ୍ ଅ ହୋମ୍ ଟୁ ଲିଭ୍ ଇନ୍ ବଟ୍ ଅନେକ ଲୋକ ସେଠୁ ଆସିକି ସମୁଦ୍ରରେ ଯାଇପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି କି ଋଷିକୂଲ୍ୟରେ ଯାଇପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି ମାଛ ଧରିବାକୁ एते दूर रे तांकर बोट रहिले तांको असुविधा होची सो when we think of climate disasters we often what comes to our mind is cyclones ki floods माने बहुत छपर उड़ी जाउथबो घर भांगी जाउथबो सेही टाइप रो but there is also kind of course that brings about an economic loss an immediate and very urgent economic loss especially to those at the bottom of the pyramid but gote chronic कह गले गोटे स्लो बर्न गोटे इकोनॉमिक लॉस भी हो जोटा कि लाइवलीहुड रो लॉस हुए तो सेटा को आमे केमते मिटिगेट करिया सेटा भी आमे भाबिया कथा बिकॉज़ इवन क्लाइमेट डिजास्टर्स occur at different scales at the top of which would be these extreme climatic events but आपण जदि चाष लाइन रे काम करिवे फार्मिंग लाइन रे काम करिवे ताहले गोटे चाषी रो पर्सपेक्टिव रो क्लाइमेट डिजास्टर ता सब दिन छोट छोट आकार होची एवरी टाइम एराटिक रेनफॉल अबिका भी वर्षा होची जंती एई समय रे भी सेटा ठो नै कि वाटर टेबल जतले खसुची कि केते प्रकार माने देयर आर हंड्रेड्स ऑफ डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ वेरिएबल्स दैट गो इनटू फार्मिंग
जोटा अदृश्य माने
जोटा कि
इनविजिबल एमिति आखि सामने देखा जाय ना कारण हमें आखि सामने देखो घरडी भांगी जाना पड़ी जाय
सेटा भी गोटे
डंगा भांगी छी जाना पड़ी जाय किंतु एमिति हिडन बहुत अछि नै कि ओके हमें से ऊपर भी जिबा किंतु आउ थरे से स्ट्रक्चर
हां करिबी संजय बाबू को सिमिलरली गोटे इंसिडेंट आपण माने जानि थिबे हमर बगपाटिया रे जो हेतिला सी सबमर्जेंस हेतिला सेते बेलु 1980 ऑनवर्ड्स प्रॉब्लम चाली थिला एवं गवर्नमेंट सेते इंटरवेंशन करिथिले बगपाटिया रे सातटा आपण माने जानचंदी कॉलोनी हेइची सेठरे आपणकर जो हाउस होल्ड रही वर्तमान मोर देन 6000 हाउस होल्ड हेलेनी सेठी एवं से जो हाउस होल्ड रही से हाउस होल्ड कर डेवलपमेंट पाई एवं सार जमती कहउचंती इकोनॉमिक अर्निंग स्किल एंड लाइवलीहुड ये समस्त को आखि आगे रखिकी 2023 मसीह एगेन गवर्नमेंट इंटरवेंशन करिसेंती एवं सेतरे 2023 रे 21 कोटी टंका इन्वेस्टमेंट करिसेंती गवर्नमेंट एगेन हम कहबी इट इज नॉट फ्रॉम ए सिंगल डिपार्टमेंट इट इज द कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ मेनी डिपार्टमेंट्स पीआरडीडब्ल्यू डिपार्टमेंट कर सेतरे इन्वेस्टमेंट अछि स्कूल एंड मास एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट का इन्वेस्टमेंट अछि आरडी रो इन्वेस्टमेंट अछि सो जदि हमें लाइवलीहुड कथा चिंता करछे देन अगेन इट हैज टू बी कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स एंड लोगों को स्किलफुल करबा पई पड़िबो मे बी दे हैव टू बी टोल्ड टू गो फॉर अल्टरनेटिव लाइवलीहुड थैंक यू
गत सप्ताह मु सुंदरबन जाइतली सुंदरबन रो विभिन्न आइलैंड बुलिवा समय रे मु किछि कम्युनिटी भेटितली जो मान को सिमिलर थिला हमो कोस्टल बेल्ट लोकन सहित के डिजास्टर हेले से माने आ सुंदरबन रे रहउनांती से माने अलगा स्टेट को पळौछंती जदि हम कोस्टल बेल्ट रो कथा देखिबा गंजाम चिलिका ए सब अंचल इवन केंद्रापड़ा अंचल लोक माने भी आज दिन रे भी माइग्रेट होउछंती आ माइग्रेशन पछरे गोटे बड़ो रीजन से माने कहउछंती डिजास्टर होउची जेमि आपण चाष कथाटी कहले चाष उजिड़ जाउची से पुनी 6 मास वर्ष सेतिक पाइबो नाही से जो लाइवलीहुड कथा मैडम आपण कहउछंती एमिति स्पेशल व्यवस्था से पर्टिकुलर एरिया पे लाइवलीहुड पे व्यवस्था है कि हां डिजास्टर हैला मोर क्षति हैला किंतु मु एते समस्या नहीं जे मु आउ एक राज्य को जाकी खटिबा पे जेबी फोर्सली माइग्रेट हेबे सेमिति व्यवस्था डिपार्टमेंट गवर्नमेंट किछि करिसेंती कि फोर्सली मते जिया पड़िबो नहीं
मु ऑलरेडी कहि सालेनी
नहीं इंप्लीमेंट लेवल रे
कहूची आपन को मु केरला जाइथिली सेठी मु देखिली जो होटल रे हम रहिथिलो मैक्सिमम आगे ओडिया लोक कौटू आसछन्ति ना गजपति आसछन्ति केन्द्रापड़ा आसछन्ति जगतसिंहपुर आसछन्ति कहीं आसछन्ति ना सेठी हमको किसी काम मिललानी ट्रू मु भी मानुची आपण को स्किलफुल करबा पई आपणकर गोटे प्रोफेशन रे अछन्ति ऑलरेडी स्विच ओवर करके आ गोटे प्रोफेशन अडॉप्ट करबा पई ऑल आर वेरी डिफिकल्ट थिंग्स एठी बसी के एसी रूम रे कहि दबाटा बहुत सहज किंतु जने लोक को केपरि भाबरे मु पुनी तार माइंडसेट को चेंज करबे एवं ताको आशा करबे जे मो अनुसार गवर्नमेंट ता सिस्टम अनुसार जो स्किल ता ताको अडॉप्ट करबा पई कहूची से स्किल अनुसार से तार प्रोफेशन ता निर्वाह करू बट स्टिल आमे जत्ते बेले भी किछि रोल रिलोकेशन करू एवं केत्ते बेले जत्ती किछि इंटरवेंशन गवर्नमेंट करंती आमे सब बेले आपण जेमति कहले कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट द्वारा ही यह संभव हेई परिबो एवं आगामी दिन रे मध्य गवर्नमेंट सब बेले जत्ते बेले रिलोकेशन करंती लाइवलीहुड कथा सब बेले चिंता करंती थैंक यू
अच्छा मु एथरे टिके आपण को जस्ट प्रश्न रो उत्तर दूची इमीडिएटली आफ्टर डिजास्टर्स बेसिकली से एरिया रे कैश फॉर वर्क काम आरंभ कर दियंती बहुत एजेंसीज भी करंती प्लस गवर्नमेंट रो जो एमजी नरेगा स्कीम्स हो कि एग्रीकल्चर रो फिशरी रीस्टॉकिंग ता पई गोटे काम कर आजिकली आ गोटे जो जिंसो गवर्नमेंट करे स्पेसिफिकली आफ्टर डिजास्टर अगर आपण पचारचंती से माने पोस्ट डिजास्टर नीड असेसमेंट करंती से नीड्स कौन कौन अच्छी आइडेंटिफाई करके ता ऊपर स्कीम्स गुड करंती बट अगर आपने इकोनॉमिक लॉसेस प्रीवियसली करियार अच्छी देन आमको ता धेरे किछिटा नुआ जिंसो ऐड करिया को पड़ुची इज कि आपन को प्री स्टॉकिंग ऑफ सीड्स प्री स्टॉकिंग ऑफ फर्टिलाइजर्स अगर एग्रीकल्चर बेल्ट अच्छी कि आपण जो फिशरीज अच्छी सेटा कि आपण इम्यूनाइजेशन ऑफ एनिमल्स इमीडिएटली करिवे सो दैट से मानकर किछि इलनेस न होबो ए जिंसो गुडा करो भी प्री डिसीजन नौचंती इट इज अ पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ द डिजास्टर प्लानिंग सो दे आपण को प्रथम जो जिंसो करिवारे एट एनी गिवन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम रिस्क असेसमेंट ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया इन टर्म्स ऑफ द लाइवलीहुड फर्स्ट तापरे अपन को प्लानिंग अच्छी एंड देन प्लानिंग भितरे जो एबे नुआ जो एडिशन करा होची गोटे इंश्योरेंस स्कीम्स मोस्टली फॉर फार्मर्स फॉर फिशरमैन फॉर डिफरेंट पीपल एंड अगर अपन काली पर दिन न्यूज पेपर पढ़िबे क्लाइमेट रेजिलियंस पाई पैरामेट्रिक इंश्योरेंस जोटा अछि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ता विषय रे चिंता करिवा को जाउची सेटा केते दूर होई परिबो which is going to be fruitful or not fruitful that's a secondary but there is an instrument
right
insurance is an instrument
हमें गोटे पॉजिटिव रिमार्क दबा कि हां मे बी से प्रोग्राम आगु को भले पारे संजोग सर मैडम जो कथाटी कहउतले सुस्मिता मैडम जो कथा कहउतले सेठी जेमि हमें माइग्रेट कथाटी असला सामना को कि डिजास्टर पर होउची आपण ग्रास रूट रे काम करूछंती आपण फील करंती कि जदी डिजास्टर पर गोट लोकटे माइग्रेट होउची फोर्सली हो इंटरेस्टेड नो फोर्सफुली होते घरे तांको स्त्री माने रह जानती घरे छुआ माने रह जानती सेमानकर परिस्थिति केमती हे जाता परे संजोग सर प्रैक्टिकली
it depends धरा सही चिलिकार केस रे आपण की समुद्र कूल अंचल उपकूल अंचल रीजन जदि कहिबे ताले माइग्रेशन हैज बिकम a feature which is common to all the households बहुत प्रकार कारण अछि खाली इकोनॉमिक कारण पई लोक माइग्रेट भी एबे करू नाहंती कल्चरल रीजंस पई करछन कार भाई अछि कार अदा फैमिली पळे जो से माने पळौछंती बट यस मोर और लेस इट्स वेरी जेंडर्ड women mostly stay back आउ से माने जो भी आगुरु जहा करथिले जंती धर ड्राई फिश करबा को माने माछ सुखे की ताकू तार जो सुखा करी बिकिया को से टाइप रो सो लाइवलीहुड तांकर ऑप्शंस टिके रहूची amaro for instance bati farms re jenti amaro most of our farmers are women farmers and the reason for that is not because for the simple reason that ki most of the men have migrated out तो जो मानकर अल्प अल्प जगह होचे समाने women farmers ही काम करछंती and of course ता बेसी भितर को जीवन तार डिटेल्स को जीवानी but I would say that migration often terms जो माने जो घर मानक माइग्रेट करछंती तांकर इकोनॉमिक कंडीशंस टिके बेटर रहउची जो माने माइग्रेट करू नाहांती राइट so obviously expatriation होची पैसा रो but देयर आर अदर फॉर्म्स ऑफ इंटेंजिबल लॉस जोटा कि माने घरटा भांगी जाउची ऑप्शन थिले से माने चाहिबे एठी काम करिया तो तांको घरटा एकाठी रहंत सो सेही जिनसडा का में माने इट कैन नॉट बी कैलकुलेटेड इन टर्म्स ऑफ एन इकोनॉमिक लॉस बट ए माने गोटे प्रकार क्लाइमेट रेफ्यूजी जदियो तांकर आर्थिक अवस्था भलो थिबो तथापि तांकर बहुत प्रकार अलगा प्रॉब्लम्स होउची से जो एक्सपैट्रिएटेड मनी जोटा आसुची सेटा भी गां रे बहुत प्रकार जिनस यूज होउची जोटा कि माने धर गोटे भाई बाहर थिबो आ गोटे मोर निज घर कथा कहूची मोर गोटे कजन बाहर थिले आ गोटे कजन ड्रग एडिक्शन रु सफर करूची तो से पैसाटा जो आसुची एठी माने एठी किछि तार रेवेन्यू जनरेशन में एठी किछि इकोनॉमिक माने किछि तो गोटे वैल्यू ऐड करनी किछि गोटे गां रे नुवा बिजनेस तो करनी तो बहुत प्रकार जिनस जोटा कि हम या भीतर जाई परिबानी बट the short of it is definitely एटा गोटे gendered disparity रहुची कि economic opportunities जो गाँ मान करे जोठी climate affected communities अच्छी सेठी be it in mining areas be it in interiors कोरापुट रे for instance सेपोट area रे अभिका time रे it's not very often discussed but Odisha is actually the highest per capita vegetable producer in the country अलगा states अच्छी जोठी कि vegetable production टा बहुत बेसी होता है पारे तमिलनाडु महाराष्ट्र but आमर एठी देखिए हमें को भी वेजिटेबल कैटेगरी ने पेरिशेबल कैटेगरी आम टॉप 5 रे थिवा कि पॉपुलेशन वाइज आम नंबर 16 आई थिंक तो परिया प्रोडक्शन बहुत होची किंतु परिया प्रोडक्शन टा जो होची तार बहुत प्रकार रो क्लाइमेट स्ट्रेस जोगु तार अभिका पेस्टिसाइड यूज फर्टिलाइजर यूज बहुत बहुत बढ़ी चलछि जरा लास्ट 10 वर्ष रे आपण देखि परिबे जोटा कि एनवायरमेंटल एक्सटर्नलाइजेशन गोटे प्रकार होची जदि हो तांकर इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन बढ़ुची इन द लॉन्ग टर्म सेठी तांको फेरे सेटा बुली बाली की इफेक्ट भी होची जो जगह रे ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग भी आमे करिया को चेष्टा करछु आम केस रे आमे देखुची जदि हो ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग करूछु आमे प्रमोट करूछु जोतळे मार्केट प्राइसेस फॉल करछि गोटे से वेजिटेबल को गोटर धरो अधा एकर रे चासीटा चासे करतो ताकू तो तार बेसिक इनकम टा दरकार धरो 10 टका रु 5 टका हेगला टमाटर प्राइस सी अधा एकर जगह रे कला आ सी अधा एकर टा एक्स्ट्रा ऑफन jungle categories. So there are many forms of loss, like I'm saying, which are because of these long-term, very slow burn sort of climate disasters that are going on. जो तरह के हमें अभिका वर्तन ताको मैप करियो भी आरंभ करो.
सुस्ते मैडम, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ओडिशा सरकार जेंडर लेंस रे ये सब जिनसु को देखे प्रिवेंशन लॉस क्या जेमती हमें किछि हिडन कथा कहूछु बा वुमेन सेफ्टी कथा कहूछु जेंडर लेंस केते गुरुत्व होची गोटे गवर्नमेंट पई
दुईटा कथा कहबे एठी गोटे इकोनॉमिक लॉस कथा कहउछन ड्यूरिंग डिजास्टर इकोनॉमिक गेन पई भी माइग्रेशन हुए सेम केरला रे मु जाइथिली जतबेले मु जो डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट ऑफिस को गली एसडीएम केरला सेठी तांकर जे अछंती शेखर अछंती से कहले जे मु कहले आपनकर एठी एते वुमेन एम्प्लॉय आम ऑफिस रे देखला बेले मे बी सम होल स्ट्रेंथ रा 10% ओनली आम ऑफिस रे अछंती तो से कहले मैडम हमर एठी 95% वुमेन काहे कि ना मेल पर्सन केरला रे के रहते ने दे ऑल माइग्रेट in search of economic gain. नंबर 2 जो सार कहते या देखते कि ना आभा मैडम जस्ट कहले पीडीएन पोस्ट डिजास्टर नीड्स असेसमेंट ए जो पोस्ट डिजास्टर नीड्स असेसमेंट रे ही हिडन थाए रीजन की इकोनॉमिक लॉस टाको केमती एसेस कर दिया जाए एवं से जो प्रोसेस द्वारा व्हिच हैज बिकम मैंडेटरी बाय एनडीएमए एंड एमएचए ताको वर्तमान स्टेट आफ्टर एवरी डिजास्टर कंडक्ट करूछंती एवं ता अनुसार मध्ये हमें स्टेप्स नवा पई मध्ये हमें पदक्षेप नेउछु.
ओके अनेक चर्चा हुए इकोनॉमिक लॉस कथा हम टॉपिक मध्ये इकोनॉमिक लॉस कथा बट से जो आउ एक पॉइंट एड ऑन करिया पे चाहूची एनईएलडी एबे बहुत चर्चा होची नॉन इकोनॉमिक लॉस एंड डैमेज आपण माने सुनथुवे एमिति बहुत लॉस एंड डैमेज होची जोटा नॉन इकोनॉमिक बट सेटा टिकी लॉन्ग पीरियड रे हुए तो इकोनॉमिक ऊपर फैक्टर आसे से हेल्थ कंडीशन देखंतु तो आपण मोर क्वेश्चन आपन को कि नॉन इकोनॉमिक लॉस एंड डैमेज जो होची डिजास्टर आफ्टर डिजास्टर ताकू प्रिवेंशन हमें केमते दे परिबा
सबुठु प्रथम की गवर्नमेंट हो कि नॉन गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज हेल्थ एस्पेक्ट्स को जेमती अपन कहले गुरुत्व दियंती डिजीज सर्वेलेंस जोटा हुए इमीडिएटली आफ्टर एनी डिजास्टर्स बिकम्स मैंडेटरी एंड एन एवरीडे इश्यू से अपन देखिए हमरो कॉलरा हो डायरिया हो आफ्टर डिजास्टर्स बहुत रेयर हुए. द्वितीय कथा है कि आपनकर जो धरंतु एबे हीट वेव आउ कोल्ड वेव आमे मॉर्निंग रे सुनथुलो कूलिंग एंड हीटिंग एनवायरनमेंट से जिनसोटा आमे ता ऊपर काम करिनु. ओडिशा रे 1998 रे फर्स्ट टाइम आमे देखिथिलु 97 आई थिंक जेतोले हीट वेव रे डेथ्स बहुत हेला तापरठू आम कमे देचु आम इमिडिएटली स्टेप्स कर नौचु आम जेमती देखुचु खरा दिन आसिला जल छत्र सब आड़े स्टार्ट कर दउचु आम लोक मान सचेतन करचु छत्ता नहीं जाओ ये करो सो दिस इज ऑल्सो बीइंग डन एंड अगेन नॉन इकोनॉमिक लॉसेस कल्चरली भी हबो जेमती अपन कहले सात भाइयारू लोक जेतेले अलगा जगह को आसी गले से तांकर कल्चर ही चेंज हो जाउची काहे कि अपन को गोटे अलगा प्रकार स्टिमुलस अछि तो ता देरे कोन करछन एबे बहुत संस्था आछन जो आर डॉक्यूमेंटिंग दैट with the people to ensure that that is also conserved and then also we as citizens have to take it forward amaro media houses erika bi ta bisere out discussion achi no hele bahut din le I mean ame jani paribani gote sadharan udaharan douchi mo SDM re bosthili gote madam pakhare se mate कहले कि आगरू व्रत घर और बाहागर पाखापाखी कहीं होउतला छोटो जो 8-7 वर्ष रे व्रत घर होउतला 9-10 वर्ष 12 वर्ष रे बाहागर होई जाउतला she said that was basically to ensure that he does not become a sannyasi but I as a person never thought about it काहे कि आउ तापरे लंडा हवाटा सेटा शुद्ध घर पारे हुए नहले जेतले पैता पड़े सेतले हुए कि अलगा कर्म हुए बाहागर रे आजिकली भल लगुनी सेति पई सेटा के डीलिंक कर दिया जायछि सो यू नो दे मे बी सर्टेन स्मॉल नुएंसेस विभिन्न प्रकार जो खाद्य अछि देयर आर वेरी मेनी टाइप्स ऑफ जोटा environmentally is very important और immediately after a disaster a छोटो disaster परे भी सेटा आसे but it is usable for us as a nutritive value we have forgotten that so somewhere we need to bring that traditional knowledge back to us and economic losses non-economic losses is also about this loss of traditional knowledge
सुशीला मैडम गवर्नमेंट जदि मैडम कहले कि डिजास्टर समय आम चिंता करू कि हईजा केमती न हम केमती ठीक समय औषध लोक पाखे पहुंच कारण से समय बन्या जदि होइतिबो लोक माने कोठी शौचालय पाइबे नहीं तो जी जोटी पाइले सेठी शौच कर दियंती तो धीरे धीरे झाड़ा बांती बहुत बढ़ी जाए ये सब आखि सामना को आसे किंतु गवर्नमेंट से लेवल चिंता करिसंती कि एनईएलडी लॉस बा नॉन इकोनॉमिक लॉस एंड डैमेज दृष्टि रे कि हमको पूर्वरु कौन करिया सेरेब्रल पैल्सी कथा कहंतु अनेक जण बा मेंटल डिसऑर्डर कथा कहंतु से समय थांती सेमान को इन फ्यूचर से माने केते प्रॉब्लम फेस करिवे गवर्नमेंट रो स्टाफ की स्ट्रेटजी थाए
निश्चित रूपे जेतेबेल भी डिजास्टर हुए एनी डिजास्टर मु केवल साइक्लोन कथा एठी कहबी जेतु आप हम पाके समय थाए सीरीज ऑफ मीटिंग्स हुए सीरीज ऑफ मीटिंग्स रे बहुत सीनियर ऑफिसर्स रहती एंड जो एरिया इंपैक्ट हुए फॉर्चुनेटली हमर टेक्नोलॉजी एते डेवलप करलानी आईएमडी हमको कहि दियंती पाखापाखी तार पाथ जानी दो तो सही एरिया रे जो कथा सार कहउछंती सब ऊपर आगे आलोचना हुए जे आपण जेमते कहले इकोनॉमिक लॉस एंड जो हिडन इकोनॉमिक लॉस कथा कहला दैट इज आल्सो डिस्कस्ड देयर एवं आमे जो भाबुचे खाली जे आमे गोटे फील्ड रे आमे मेजर्स नौचे इट इज नॉट सो जेमती कहले कि डिजास्टर परे आज्ञा पानी पॉल्यूटेड हो जाए हेल्थ डिपार्टमेंट सेक्रेटरी इज ऑलवेज प्रेजेंट ड्यूरिंग दैट मीटिंग कौन करा जाए विभिन्न स्टेक होल्डर डिपार्टमेंट को रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दिया जाए एवं ताको प्रिवेंट करबा पई मध्य सेठी ही आलोचना हुए एंड वेरी हाई लेवल रो चीफ सेक्रेटरी का लेवल रे सब बेले मीटिंग करा जाए एवं हमर स्टेट इटा कोनोसी चैम्बर रे कहार मीटिंग हुए नाही स्टेट इमरजेंसी कंट्रोल रूम रे मीटिंग हुए एवं ता पई पूर्व विगत दिन मांकर जो एसओपी एसओपी को मध्य हमें बहुत एलाबोरेटली डिस्कशन करके तापर स्टेप्स नहीं था
मैडम एसओपी रे सेरेब्रल पैल्सी बा मेंटल डिसऑर्डर ये सब कथा थाए कारण हाई लेवल कमिटी मीटिंग रे हमें भी कवर करिछु से समय रे निहाती कहा जाए कि औषध पहुंचे दियो हमें भी देखछु बोर्ड रे कि डाक्टर दल पहुंचती किंतु क्यों गां रे केते जण मेंटल डिसऑर्डर अछंती क्यों गां रे सेरेब्रल पैल्सी अछंती ए सब जो जगह अछन ता पे कि स्ट्रेटजी तयारी हेई छे
आज्ञा आमर गोटे डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट प्लान तैयारी करा जाए जोटा कि विलेज लेवल रु आरंभ करके ब्लॉक लेवल रे जीपी लेवल रे करा जाए सेथिरे गोटे गाँ रो प्रथम रिसोर्स को माने अछंती ह्यूमन रिसोर्स सेथिरे आमर अंगनवाड़ी वर्कर को आशा कर्मी को सेमान को कॉन्फिडेंस को निया जाए एवं तांकर जो लिस्ट थाए सब हम पाखे अवेलेबल थाए तेणुक यही मानक पई स्पेशल केयर नेबा पई जिलापाल मान को अनुरोध करा जाए स्टेट लेवल तो आज्ञा एते माइक्रो लेवल को जाई हबनी पर जिलापाल को कहि दिया जाए जे एई विलेज रो जो डेवलपमेंट डेवलपमेंट प्लान अच्छी माइक्रो लेवल डेवलपमेंट प्लान एंड जीपी लेवल डेवलपमेंट प्लान ताकू देखिए कि काम करबा पे निर्देश दिया जाय।
संजोग बाबू आपण केबे डिजास्टर समय जाइछंती क्यों जगह जाइछंती एक्जेक्टली?
अबिका जंती बालेश्वर जो फ्लड सही थला
ओके
से हमर भोगराई से अंचल रे हेतला
लोक माने कोड रहउतिले लोक माने कोड रहितिले
हमर जो साइक्लोन डिजास्टर शेल्टर जोटा रहुछि सेटा तो भीतर अंचल रहुनी बट टिपिकली गोटे स्कूल थिबो कि गोटे कहार गोटे घर थिबो तो सही जगह रे समने रहिबे कि जो ग्राम सभा जोटी होए सही जगह रे समने रहि
आपण से रूम देखिले
देखिछि
ओके फ्रेंडली थिला
कोन गइले
फ्रेंडली बहुत रूम बहुत भलो माने जेमति कि डिजास्टर समय भी आराम से रहि हबो किछ असुविधा नै सेमति फील कले ना केमति?
सी आई कैन टॉक अबाउट द साइक्लोन डिजास्टर शेल्टर्स जोड़ा कहेछि जोड़ा कोस्टल एरिया तारो माने फ्रॉम द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ मिटिगेटिंग माने सही टाइम रे इमीडिएट से जो इवेंट हला से कि सत्रु वंचित रहिया को सेटा बहुत ही भलो थाय तार इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर टा बहुत भलो हिच सतरे किछि डाउट नै।
ओके ओके प्रैक्टिकल हां
गोटे जिंस मु कहबा को चाहूतली आमे जेतले बे आलोचना करछु आमे प्राय गां गहली रे पहुंची जाऊ आमे भूली जाऊ कि सहर भितरे कौन होची आपण कोल्ड वेव हीट वेव देखिबे सहर लोक को आपण एबे कोविड-19 जो गला हमरो जो वेंडर्स माने थिले छोटे छोटे वेंडर्स से माने बहुत क्षतिग्रस्त होइथिले आपण को हीट वेव समय रे आपण को गोटे समय आमे 12टा 11टा लु 3टा पर्यंत सब बंद कर दो तो मैक्सिमम लॉस से मानकर हो जाए से मानको पाई भी बहुत काम होउची but I think it is more needed, more is needed. So I think when we are also discussing it, जितला हमें आलोचना करते हैं
just 1 to 2 point कहबे कि हमें तांको पे कोन करि परिबा जो माने जदि हम अर्बनाइजेशन कथा कहछु अर्बन कथा कहछु 12टा रु 3टा भीतर खरा समय रे डिलीवरी बॉय जोमेटो स्विगी बॉय से माने बहुत जानते हैं कारण हमें घरु बाहरी पारुना से माने दियंती तांको पे किछि स्ट्रेटजी बा आउ किछि स्ट्रेटजी कॉमन मैन जो माने काम कर हो तो गवर्नमेंट निष्पत्ति नउछन जे खरा बेला समय रे आपण एति समय एति रहबे नाही इट्स ओके बहुत जगह रे मानुछंती बहुत लोक मानुनाती इलीगल भी होछि तो हमें पर्टिकुलरली किछि मु वन रिएक्शन समस्त मु चाहेबी कि ताकू अर्बन रो जो प्रॉब्लम होछि लॉस एंड डैमेज होछि ताकू प्रिवेंट केमति करि परिबा?
I think प्रथम तो जिनस अछि we have to really जो database management ए लोक मानकर अछि सेटा रहिबा दरकार if there is somewhere to compensate आमे जेहेतु से इकोनॉमिक लॉस हबो I will not suggest कि गवर्नमेंट तांको इकोनॉमिक लॉस तांकरो भरपाई करू rather than there are timings of market opening up the spaces सेटा improve कर दिया जाओ और can we make more sheds in places जो जगह रे से माने जाई पारिबे सेरा गोटे जिंस जल छत्र तो सब बड़े हे होउची that is there can we also have some cooling spaces जोठी एमान को तांकर व्यवसाय छाड़ी के जीवा को पड़िबनी सेही जगह रे बसी की रही परिबे 3-4 घंटा आराम रे खटुली खटी करि परिबे विश्राम घर बळिया जोटा करबे which is also some cities across India करूचंती but those are couple of things
संजोग possible इसु
I'm not particularly, I don't consider myself to be particularly experienced about, to comment on this. But ma'am, आपनो जंती गोटे कथा कहिले, traditional ecological knowledge विषय my only submission here is that the climate events, the future climate events will be of a type and order which would be very different from past climatic events. So, आगु को जाए कि climate disasters, heat stress, cyclonic events, जो प्रकार भी होगा, सड़ा को past को जाए कि हमें देखी कि ताकु आगु प्लान कर पाने. आमर climate response टा प्राय हमें responsive हो, हमें predictive हो नु. So, just to take the example from my field, which is agriculture, the way to respond to future climatic events is to basically focus on agro-biodiversity. हमें monoculture न करी कि हमें जितने आमर जो विभिन्न प्रकार रो different type रो seeds अच्छी विभिन्न प्रकार रो context में हमें already promote कर जो सेटा को in the hopes that कि आगु को जहाँ भी हो को गोटे variety रहे जो उतरे कि किछ गोटे जंती COVID हमको आमर virus हला सेंती किछ गोटे जदी affect कला crops को गोटे प्रकार crop grow कले समस्त को uniformly affect हवा जदी विभिन्न प्रकार crop करिया ताहले कोटा गोटे loss हो पछे सब जाक एकाथरे के हिजबनी. So similarly something like that maybe might be useful in the urban or in the immediate disaster management context where our response is more predictive of the future कि आगु जाई कोन हमें हम आगतुरा सेटा करिवा दान हेला परे हमें कोन तांक पई करि परिया सेटा पई हम भाबिया.
Okay. मैम आभा मैम जो कथाटी कहले इज इट पॉसिबल कि आमे करि परिबा अर्बन अंचल रे किछि ग्रुप पई हो किछि वेंडर्स पई
आभा मैडम जो कथा कहले डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट कोविड बेले मध्ये आमे चेष्टा करिथिलु that because they are floating population आपणकर तेणु सेमानकर डेटाबेसटा सब इट इज वेरी डायनामिक इन नेचर एंड इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू मेंटेन ऑल्सो आपण माने गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम रे डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट रे अल्प बहुत समस्त धारणा थिबो नंबर 2 जो कहले विश्राम गृह कथा एवं जदि किछि तांगा पई टाइमिंग हमें चेंज कर दे परिबा दैट इज पॉसिबल विश्राम गृह किछि कर दिया जाय पारे एंड टाइमिंग जदि हमें चेंज कर दोचे सेमानकर मूवमेंट 11 to 3 जदि हमें समस्त ताको एडहेयर करबा ताले किछि रिलीफ मिलि परिबा
थैंक यू मैम ये एमती प्रसंग ये प्रसंग डिजास्टर हो बा न हो ये प्रसंग रे आलोचना चालू थिबो आलोचना होय तो सरीबो नाही किंतु समय सरी आछि सेते आलोचना के रखछु बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आभा मैडम बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सुस्मिता मैडम बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद संजोग सर किछि ऑडियंस अछंती से माने मध्य निजर जदि किछि क्वेश्चन थिबा हमें तांकर प्रतिक्रिया मध्य नै परिबा किछि प्रश्न इकोनॉमिक लॉस हो नॉन इकोनॉमिक लॉस एंड डैमेज हो किमिति प्रिवेंशन गवर्नमेंट को करूछंती मैडम कहिले आउ आपन को आखिया को किछि नजर आसे कि डिजास्टर समय रे बा पूर्व हमें कोन प्रिवेंट करि पारि थांते जेमिति लॉस और डैमेज हे न थांता के कहार प्रश्न ओके सेठी ओटे माइक हां अपन लाउडली 1 सेकंड माइक
डिजास्टर पर जेकोसी एरिया हो तार 3टी मुख्य समस्या डेभलप करे गोटे शेल्टर गोटे फूड एंड वाटर आ वाटरटा हूँ सबुठ इम्पोर्टाट कहीं आमर जिते रोग हुए मनीष तार 60% हूँ वाटर बर्न
सर संक्षिप्त प्रश्न पचार दबा सर समय बहुत कम
हाँ तेणु सरकार किसी व्यवस्था अच्छी कि यही जो 3टा जिनस को इमिडिएटली एड्रेस करने किसी योजना अच्छी कि ओएसडीएम पक्षु सरकार तरफ
सर शेल्टर विषय में कहबी आमे सब एमसीएस एमएफएस कहचे मल्टीपर्पज साइक्लोन एंड फ्लड शेल्टर को अदर देन दैट डिजास्टर समय रे जति की स्कूल बिल्डिंग अछंती एवं जति की सब जति की सेफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अछंती ताकू कलेक्टर शेल्टर डिक्लेयर करंती एवं सेठी मध्ये लोक मान को आश्रय दिया जाए फूड कथा जदि कहबा सेही समय रे कलेक्टर का निर्देश रे वीडियो को फूड जे पर्यंत शेल्टर से माने छाड़ी नाहंती से तार खाद्य पेय व्यवस्था वीडियो निजे तदारक करंती एवं सेफ वाटर सब सरकार दवा चेष्टा करते थैंक यू
एटा शेष प्रश्न नबा तापरे
I am Dr. Nagendranath Misra from Old Town. Thank you very much. My question is, during disaster, how to, there is a lot of panic, and how to help the children, women, elderly, besides preventing the economic damage. During the immediate.
Sir, women, elderly women?
Women, elderly persons.
Okay.
And the children.
Uh-huh.
How to help them?
Okay. How to help them? Sir, disaster समय रे? Okay.
सर जो मानकर सेफ घर थाए से मानू को आमे इवाकुएट करूना हो जो मानू को इवाकुएट कर दिया जाए से मानू को सेफ शेल्टर रे रखी दिया जाए एवं आज्ञा
सर हाउ टू प्रिवेंट पैनिक ओके ओके
हाउ टू प्रिवेंट पैनिक जदि तांकर घरे से माने रहंती तांका फैमिली मेंबर का सहित रहंती मते लागुनी पैनिक तांका भितरे रहिथिबो एवं जदि से माने शेल्टर को आसंती शेल्टर रे हमर नोडल अछंती टीचर माने अछंती एंड अंगनवाड़ी वर्कर अछंती जो माने ऑल अलोंग सेठी तांको रखी दिया जाए एवं या ऊपर गोटे ऑर्डर बाहरी जाईची जे प्रति टीम रे 2 जण लेडी रहिबे एंड इट इनक्लूड्स जने लेडी होमगार्ड रहिबे एवं जने लेडी अंगनवाड़ी रहिबे वर्कर एंड लेडी टीचर रहिबे ए जो झियो छुआ मानकर एवं छोट पिला मानकर एवं एल्डरली लेडीज कर टेक केयर करबा पई
मु टिके आउ ता भितरे ऐड करची आमरो बहुत वॉलंटियर्स भी रहंती ओएसडी में भी बहुत ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम दउची प्लस आपन को जेति की स्कूल एंड कॉलेजेस अछि सेठी भी डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट रो कहंती तो सेमने जेतबेले इन्फॉर्मेशन मिली जाए सेमने घर घर जाइकी भी कथा हबा को होजनी को जगह रे आप देखंतु हमरो बहुत बड़ राज्य भी आ लोक माने भी बहुत अच्छी सबुआड़े सबुबले पहुंची न पारती बट चेष्टा करा जाए कि जेति की एल्डरली हेले छोट छुआ हेले कि जो माने सिक अच्छी तांकर ही गाँ रु जो मन को ट्रेनिंग दिया जाए जो साइक्लोन शेल्टर रो भी अच्छी फ्लड शेल्टर रो भी अच्छी से माने जाइकी से मानक संगे कथा है कि तांको घर भितर हो कि घर बाहर हो तांको को जगह रे कौन करिवो से इन्फॉर्मेशन दिया जाए आउ स्वयं गोष्ठी जो अच्छी सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ए काम रे आगु को बढ़ंती
थैंक यू मैम थैंक यू ए सेशन को एठो कुछ बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद
थैंक यू सो मच समस्त को अनेक अनेक धन्यवाद आमर परवर्ती सेशन गुड़िकरे अनेक गुरुत्वपूर्ण आलोचना रही आम सहित एक्स चीफ सेक्रेटरी एंड चेयरमैन ऑफ ओईआरसी श्रीजुक्त प्रदीप जेना मध्य सामिल हेबे अनेक अतिथि आम सहित सामिल हेबे जो माने आलोचना करिवे किंतु एबे आमे गोटे छोट ब्रेक नबा समस्त को अनुरोध लंच मध्याह्न भोजन रा व्यवस्था रही समस्त आम सहित लंच पाई जोग देबे एवं तापरे खूब शीघ्र आमे पुणी थरे ए हॉल भितर एकाठी हबा आ पुणी आउ गोटे गुरुत्वपूर्ण प्रसंग डाउन स्केलिंग क्लाइमेट साइंस टू कम्युनिटी से ऊपर आलोचना करबा थैंक यू
क्यों न जाने जुड़े हैं हम वाकिफ खड़े उड़ेंगे आज हाँ है हमको यकीन Rise up, it's time to take a stand. This is our moment, the future's in our hands. One voice, together we can change us again. Rise up, it's time to take a stand. This is our moment. Future's in our hands. One voice. Together we can change our earth again.
दक्षता वृद्धि करी एवं स्थानीय संप्रदाय को शामिल करी उत्सव शोषण रे दीर्घस्थायी बनना को भी चैलेंज करता है सामूहिक संपत्ति भावरे पुनः निर्माण करा जायता है जहां बन्या जंगल रे निया झड़ मरुड़ी भली जलवायु विपर्यय बारंबार घटुछि एवं अधिक गंभीर हेबारे लागिछि ए घटना गुड़िक केवल मनुष्य जीवन एवं परिवेश प्रति विपद सृष्टि करे नाही बरं भित्तिभूमि कृषि व्यवसाय सार्वजनीन सेवा को मध्य बाधा दिए आर्थिक क्षति को बढ़ाए अर्थनैतिक क्षति को रोकिबा पई क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट भित्तिभूमि रे